so we get this message out. It's super important. Today I'm going to do a show in English. So my Spanish audience will have to wait. Se los debo en español. Se los voy a traer muy pronto. So I'll be bringing you that Spanish content show. I think that it's incredibly important for the folks in Mexico getting this information right away so they can identify folks that are in their backyard in Tijuana right now with this caravan. And if you don't know, they are currently in a standoff at the warehouse, the Viento y Marea warehouse. So I'm going to be bringing you all of the updates on what's happened there on today's show called Caravan Standoff here on a Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo-Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. You can also catch all of my past shows by going to kpppfm.com. Just type in Caravan in the search bar and they should all come up. But Nemo's got you covered here. We have our very last show was called Caravan Clashes. And I'm sure that Nemo can drop that into the link for that, along with all of my other shows on the Caravan, including Caravan Coordinators, Caravan Influencers, Infiltrators, Not Your Migrant Caravan, Shelter Updates, and the LGBTQIA Caravan. All of the shows that I've done, I will have Nemo drop in here for you to go back and catch up if you've missed something. If you're just trying to educate yourself about what's going on with this caravan, why do I care, this is a good place to start. I also want to thank all of you who have been sending me information, not only about what's going on with this caravan, but others of the Standing Rock phonies, as they've come to be named on my show, that we've seen doing other things around the country and promoting other campaigns or candidates. I've got some interesting updates coming up for you on those things. But for now, I am and still will be very focused on this caravan, as it is a red hot crisis on the border, and it's of national importance. As we know, we're still in a government shutdown. We've got this huge fight between the Democrats and the Republicans about the border wall, and this issue at the border right now, and the caravan that is being said will arrive or will be leaving on January 15th is only heightening that fear. So I will be getting to those other topics in the future, but for right now, I am staying right on this caravan. But I do thank you for all of the information you've sent, as well as for your support of this station, our broadcasts, my work, and how do folks get a hold of us, Duke?
Many ways. And yes, you should care about the caravan. And we're giving you information that's really hot off the press, and it isn't very widespread, coming from live streamers and reporters in Tijuana and contacts that Cindy has made. It's very valuable information, and you just don't see it out there. So you're going to see some of it here tonight. If you have something to add and you want to do a regular recorded message call to us, leave a message on our call-in line, which takes a message. You can call 701-566-0917. Again, that number is 701-566-0917. Also, you can do email. You can do Cindy at kpppfm.com or Duke at kpppfm.com. Plus Nemo at same address, and Lizzie too. And also, if you go to Facebook, that's been one place a lot of people. We have an open Facebook page. It's 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead. And then we have the People's Press Project and Mexi-Can. And you can follow Cindy. She has a public page on Facebook by searching at Cindy Go Schempp. And we have a Twitter account at media_PPP. And don't forget to go to kpppfm.com. And we have all of our shows there. And basically go to a Mexican Crossing Lines and the programs, or go to archives and see the other shows we are putting up. And you can view them there. And what we've done is we've taken the Facebook Live videos and we're putting them up on YouTube so they're better quality. And we basically cut out the music in the beginning and the end too. And, or the beginning anyways. It's a good place to actually go have a whole different platform to explore there. And if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's Duke1517. Again, that's Duke1517. We'd like some more subscribers. Then you can get notified when our new videos go up. They tend to go up basically the same day that we produce them. And also, since we're a local nonprofit radio station, non-commercial nonprofit radio station, we also are asking you to contribute to our organization. You can go to kpppfm.com/donate, and we have a PayPal link there where you can actually make a donation, or you can mail in a check in. Those funds help us produce the programming we're producing, helps keep us on the air, helps us survive, and we very much appreciate all of you who have donated and supported us through these several years. And with the Facebook Live, we're reaching audiences all over the world. I mean, we're having a broader reach than we do with our radio station, which covers the Fargo-Moorhead area up here. So we'd really appreciate that you visit us, that you support us, and we thank you for all the things you have done for us.
Speaking of which, I want to send a shout out to a friend of ours, Avi, whose birthday just passed.
Oh, yes. Happy birthday, Avi.
To him, and also to Brad Kilmer, whose birthday just passed recently as well.
That's right. Happy birthday, Brad.
For all of you who set up birthday fundraisers for the People's Press Project, you have my heart. I so appreciate when folks on Facebook that are our followers I wake up and they're like, they set up a birthday fundraiser for themselves to raise money for our organization. You have no idea how much that helps our station stay alive. So thank you to all of you, and happy birthday. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a little belated, I just wanted to say that on the air. Also, I wanted to bring you up to date with what we have brought you, information that we've brought you on our last show. So the last show I told you about specific people that I saw at Standing Rock and at other pipeline protests and at other actions, campaigns, marches, etc., where when those people arrived, you knew bad things were going to happen, which is why I called my show Caravan Clashes, because once those people are on site, they're there to document the stuff they stir up. So they stir up the mayhem, the chaos. They plan and prepare all of these actions, including the recent one where they went to the border wall and had another violent clash with the Border Patrol throwing tear gas at them and pepper spray. They're there to film it, and they're there to put out their propaganda the way they want you here in the United States to consume it. A lot of these are left-leaning media platforms, newly created media platforms. Some of them are more established, like The Guardian or, things like that. But a lot of these are just independent photographers and documentary filmmakers, etc., or at least they call themselves that. They call themselves independent media. I've been bringing you their names because when they appear, so does the more violent stuff. The clashes with police, the confrontations start to get more and more frequent when these folks arrive. One of those folks is Doug McLean.
Oh, yeah.
Another of those folks, Evan Duke for sure. Evan Duke, Antifa, anarchist dude. That guy. If he shows up, bad things are about to happen. Myron Dewey and his drone. If you see those guys, they're there to catch the action. And they're there to provoke the actions too, but they're there to catch the action and then tell you what you saw. So those folks, I told you, they're already there. They come, they go, they cross the border, they go back. And then there's also Rob Wilson, one of the most recent arrivals, who's been holed up inside of a warehouse called Viento y Marea, Wind and Surf. That is the third location for some of the people from this caravan. Not technically speaking, but let me just explain. So first, these folks were at the ball field, open air ball field. It was a temporary shelter that was set up when they arrived, around 6,000 to 7,000 people. They were there. It began to rain. Tijuana has bad plumbing, bad
drainage.
And because of this, they tend to flood with what they call in Mexico black water. And that is a euphemism for sewage, raw sewage running in the streets. It happens frequently, especially during rainy season, which this is in Tijuana, and the ball field became flooded. It was already a disaster from the standpoint that everything was getting wet, but when you put in the raw sewage in there, it gets to be too much. So that place was condemned because of the health risks, right? People that refused to leave that place decided that they did not want to go to the new shelter, the Barretal, decided that they would stay in the streets. So they decided to occupy a street. And of course, at this point, since the shelter had been closed, the bathrooms were taken away, the water was taken away, the Marines, the health services, all of the stuff that they had there for services were taken to the new shelter, the Barretal. It was rented by the federal government, and it was going to be set up for as many months as were necessary to try to process all these folks and figure out how to get them asylum, either in this country, in the United States, or send them home. Now, the people that stayed in the street were told that they could not continue to cause a health risk by defecating and urinating in the streets, and also occupying a street, closing down the nearby businesses and schools, etc. So they were given a date that they had to evacuate from there, or they would be removed by force. At which point they negotiated extra time. When they saw that they could no longer occupy the street, after several times that the police came down and tried to get them to go to the shelter, they were basically given an ultimatum: at this time, on this date, you will leave. When that did not work, because they still tried to hold the spot, they were able to negotiate through a senator, his assistant, and a priest that was doing a favor for a Christian organization from the United States, on a petition from a Christian organization from the United States that contacted this activist priest in Mexico named Padre Solalinde. He then went together with this Congress member from Baja California and his assistant, and they figured out a way to get the shelter, this warehouse, Viento y Marea, for the people in the street. That was the extra amount of time that the police were asked for from evacuating the street so that they could get them into the shelter. And when that was agreed upon by the police, it was violated. And what you will hear as I tell this story is that there's a pattern of saying that the migrants just want to do this, and then they lie. For example, the migrants just wanted to go to the border wall to make their petition of asylum peacefully. And then there was rock throwing. And then there was pepper spray. And then there was violence. And there was blood. And there was cameras to catch all of it. A lot of the same cameras that we're talking about here now. But some new ones, like Rob Wilson. I don't think he was there yet. Maybe he was. Anyway, after they were told that they were going to give them extra time, the migrant caravan violated that too, leaving nearly 200 people occupying the street and refusing to leave. So around 500 went over to the shelter, Viento y Marea, the warehouse, which it is being called more often than not, and 200 and some remained in the street, occupying the street, continuing to cause the problems of school closure, of health risk, etc., loss of business, etc., etc. And then finally, this week, an evacuation notice was issued, an eviction notice was issued to the people at Viento y Marea. How did that happen? How did we get there? Let me walk you through it. So here is an article from a Spanish publication, and I will drop the links. Sorry, it's in Spanish, but I mean, this is the benefit that you have from a Mexican crossing lines, that you get to hear what the Mexican news is telling people about what's happening, okay? Uniradio Informa is the name of this news outlet. And the headline here says, Extranjeros alientan a migrantes a no desalojar bodega de zona norte. Foreigners manipulate, basically, the migrant caravan into refusing to evacuate the warehouse in the north part of town. And if you continue down this article, you will see that it's talking about how these the commissioner of the federal police in Baja California, Juan Carlos Moran Quintero, said that the migrants said in front of the migrants that the intervention of foreigners had impeded him, had deterred him in his government function. They were stopping his ability to enforce the law, his ability to complete a government function, which is to evacuate a shelter that has been twice now deemed condemned because of multiple health hazards found in that shelter by federal health authorities, by the federal health department. And Juan Carlos Moran Quintero also told the press that the foreigners that are here, que no tienen una actividad para tal situación, that don't have the authority to be acting as they are here, are in fact breaking the law. Están cometiendo un delito. That means the police chief of the Federal Police of Baja California has now stated to the media publicly on more than one occasion, this is just one example that I could find for you, where you can go look for yourself, that the police chief of the Federal Police is now signaling through the media that the foreigners that are there are breaking the law. When he says that, it means he and his officers are now documenting the crimes for future arrests. And he made that quite clear in videos that were posted by none other than Rob Wilson. I'm going to show you which videos those are. They're kind of long, so I'm not going to play them all. I kind of played around. I toyed with the idea of playing it and then translating it for you word for word so that you could see how different what he said was from what these activists and Antifa and caravan supporters are telling you the police are doing and saying, because there are completely different things. And Rob Wilson, maybe because he doesn't understand Spanish and the Spanish speakers with him, one of whom is a white guy that learned some Spanish, maybe lived in Mexico for a while, but does not know how to translate adequately and doesn't understand Spanish very well himself. And a Mexican woman who, although she understands Spanish very well, cannot translate it into English and or paraphrases a lot, such that a lot of important information is left out, are the reasons why Rob Wilson doesn't know what is in those videos that he posted on his page, on Rob Wilson Photography's page, on the Asylum Seekers page, and in many other of these activists' pages that have been circulating. Maybe the reason why he doesn't know how different, what a condemnation of the behaviors of these foreigners in Mexico. Those videos are because he doesn't know what the police officer and the head of the human rights in Mexico said in those videos. But I do. And anyone worth their salt as a translator that listens to those videos, you might have to boost the sound. But I would put my translation up against anybody. I've been doing it for a long time. I've translated in federal court, district court, administrative court, in front of legislative committees. I've translated for bid proposals that are international and that have gone to the United Nations. I will put up my translations up against anybody. I've translated for lawyers, for websites, for commercial purposes. I can translate simultaneously, and I can speak and write the languages fluently, both of them, without an accent. Most of the people that they have doing their translations for them don't know how to do a quarter of the things I just told you about. Nor do they have any understanding about immigration law, about the culture of Mexico, about immigration law in Mexico or laws in Mexico. So what you have is a bunch of well-meaning white activists, I'm sure, people that want to help people that are migrants, want to help people that are in this caravan, want to change what they feel are racist immigration policies, would like to abolish ICE and get rid of the border wall, which they see has no value. In many ways, in most ways, I would say I agree with all of that. I don't agree with people that don't have the skills or the capacity to do the work, to be fronting as if they did, to be fronting as if they should be the persons in charge of this issue. For example, one of those people is Mark Lane, a producer of content for the Young Turks, TYT. Mark Lane recently started doing nonprofit work to help migrants. What's Mark Lane's background? Owning a seafood restaurant. How does that qualify him to help migrants? Who the hell knows? Watch his weird Tijuana TEDx video on YouTube where he talks about what a great dude he is because he can stand next to brown people and all the other people around him. They're just like, why would you do that, Mark? And he's like, 'cause I'm a good person. And you will be weirded out beyond belief. These are the types of people that practically break their arms off patting themselves on the back because they can stomach being in the vicinity of a brown or black person. And if that is the purpose of doing this work, so you can feel good about yourself, give yourself a gold star and call yourself a hero, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you're likely, as many of these people are, to put people that are vulnerable, like this migrant caravan, in more danger than what you are able to help them because of your ignorance, all the while telling yourself that you're doing it for their good. You're not. That's exactly what happened when a lot of these same activists came here to Standing Rock in North Dakota to fight the Dakota Access Pipeline and ended up putting an Oglala Lakota elder with dementia in an early grave and her daughter in jail for 6 months, framing a completely innocent woman just to further their fake narrative of white saviorhood, of heroes created at Standing Rock. They were going to make people heroes, and they were going to fake situations that these people would be heroes of. I was able to exonerate that woman and free her, not without a lot of cost, not without a lot of effort, not without a lot of research and reporting. And I am here to tell you that these well-meaning activists are going to have already gotten people hurt, have already been involved with, adjacent to, and or helped cover up violent crimes like kidnapping, rape, assault, robbery, fraud, and they are going to continue to do so. As of October 31st, I was reporting to you that one of these Standing Rock so-called water protector heroes had recently defrauded people of thousands of dollars over the interweb through GoFundMes, through PayPals, through Venmos, through Western Unions, claiming he had been shot twice in the chest when he had completely fabricated, with the assistance of a lot of other Standing Rock heroes, pseudo-celebrities, etc. from Standing Rock. And those very same people that were applauding and disseminating this fraudulent request for thousands of dollars from a man named Marcus Mitchell are now asking you to send money for people in the caravan. Now, I wanted to tell you more about what the police chief in Baja California said in this article about these foreigners who are committing crimes and obstructing government functions in Mexico. He said that he is the authority in Mexico. He said, la Policía Federal, cualquier instrucción siempre la voy a pegar en el marco legal y no me tocaba hablar con ustedes. Era ejecutar la instrucción y que se salieran. Pero son las 2 de la tarde y seguimos tratando de dialogar, cosa que no nos permiten gente externa. Entonces eso no se vale. La última visita que yo hice, dije que se cuidarían y no permitirían a gente que consumiera sustancias ilícitas. Y hoy lo volvieron a hacer. Hoy en la mañana que llegamos, lo estaban haciendo. Now let me tell you what that says. He said that anything that he orders his officers to do is simply in the furtherment of enforcing the law. And he said that his job there was to instruct everyone to abandon this warehouse, which has been deemed twice now to be a health hazard and has been condemned by the federal authorities. And he said that they were supposed to be out of the warehouse by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but people external to the warehouse, to the caravan, he's referring to the activists, foreigners, etc., what have you, the Rob Wilsons, the Lolly Bees, all of these people, that those people, which are outside of the caravan, outside of the warehouse, were not permitting him to do his job, and that was not fair play. He said, on the last visit I made here, I told the people that were in this warehouse to be very wary and not permit anyone to come into this warehouse and bring illicit substances or consume them inside of this building. And today, you did it again. Today, this morning when we arrived, you were doing it when we arrived. That's what he said. So basically he said, we told you, among other things, about, we're trying to negotiate your exit out of this warehouse that's been condemned. And we told you the last time we were here to also watch yourself with regard to consuming any illegal substances or letting them be allowed to be consumed inside of this warehouse, because obviously that would just be adding insult to injury. As he is trying to enforce the law, they're literally breaking the law right in front of the federal police's faces. And he said that they didn't heed his warning, that upon their return in the morning on that day, they were using illicit substances again. Now, let me just say that I tried to explain on my last show that there is a desire by these activists to portray the Mexican authorities, the Mexican police, the federal police, the state police, all of them, as aggressors, to portray them as people that are there to violently repress them, to try to find an excuse to detain them, to deport them because they're xenophobic and they're racist. The cops in Mexico are not the cops in the United States. You can't compare the two kinds of cops. They're cops from different countries. They're people with different cultures, with different ideas, with different laws. You're comparing apples to oranges. It's not only unfair, it's incorrect. So first, know that. Second of all, the police in Mexico understand that there are going to be elements within this caravan of international interest, right? It's a border issue. But the fact that folks got complained about in the warehouse, I'm sure you've heard this line of reasoning circulating. We were told we could stay until the 24th. We were told the warehouse would be rented until the 24th. Let me dispel some myths about that. While it is true that the people that got this warehouse, the senator from Baja California, Bonilla, along with the help of the priest Solalinde, that got the warehouse owner, business owner, to put forth this warehouse for rent for a couple of months. What transpired after they were given the premises, along with the rules that were signed off on by that senator and that priest, with the understanding that the caravan and their leadership and their management would be responsible for enforcing those rules of health, of cleanliness, etc., maintenance during the period of use. Otherwise, it's like you rent a property and you violate the terms of the contract of your rental. Mm-hmm. You violate the terms of the contract of your rental, you can be evicted. And that's without being a condemned building, right? You know property law, Duke.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So the fact that people were violating the law, making health violations like pooping and peeing inside of the warehouse, even though they're porta potties outside, smoking inside, consuming drugs inside, not to mention the unhealthy sanitation conditions for the preparation and service of food, etc.
Mm-hmm.
All of those can contribute to any property owner losing their property rights or being evicted.
Almost definitely. That the stuff happening there, it's only common sense, that you're breaking your agreement. And it's been interesting to see the videos because the activists are trying to negotiate, and they're negotiating in a very American way, and I've watched the law enforcement actually be pretty calm, be pretty factual, and, respond back. And, so they're going through these things and they're trying to move backwards. Like, well, what can we do to fix all this? And they're like, well, these are already violations. And we have more. We have a restraining order coming on Monday. You have to wait till then. He's like, I don't have to wait because you're still violating. You're still in the middle of violating. Our job is to, make sure people's rights are protected, but also we can't let people in here anymore. It's very, very cordial responses back and forth between the activists and the police, the federal police. And also going back, they mentioned that there's been these lawyers from the United States who've been crafting all this stuff, and they're part of the National Lawyers Guild. The same group that was out of Standing Rock, the same group that created these funds and raised lots of money and didn't help a lot of people that were, arrested at Standing Rock. This same organization is in Tijuana doing legal work. And so they're, and I think they're finding that stuff doesn't flow the same way there because it's a whole different country. It's a whole different judicial system, and everybody's aware of that. And it's been very interesting in the whole concept of the condemnation. I mean, the building's condemned. The building's condemned. And there are plans to get people to places that they'll be safe and that they'll, be comfortable and can, do the next steps that you need to do. There seems to be this whole mentality of squatting and entitlement that's going on that is prolonging resolutions for people right there. And we've seen it in the videos that some of them are going to show you parts of it tonight. Plus, there's all sorts of other examples of that.
Yeah, and we saw it at Standing Rock.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that, wasting time, biding time, trying to keep things going for as long as possible so that they could hold on to a location, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what, being the last man standing was about. And it's very much tied to their form of activism. I'm going to show you that despite all of the things that they claim, that they're not part of any group, they're not within any organization, they're not activists, they're not anarchists, they're not Antifa, they're not connected to BAM, they're not connected to politicians, they're not connected to wealth or Hollywood. They don't have an agenda. They're not trying to be violent. They're not going to try to agitate or infiltrate. They are. And there's ample evidence of the fact that they are, because as I've told you, I present you with proof, evidence of the things I am saying. Now, I'm going to show you a video in a little bit here, and I'm going to drop this video into the comments of the show that comes from the new group. They keep building up these new platforms and making these new groups. And one of the reasons why they do this is, if I've noticed that, for example, I've already told you about Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network, and I told you Evan Duke was the admin, but that he turned over the admin powers to Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals, and I told you that Digital Smoke Signals and Myron Dewey was now being run also by David Gaskin and others. I told you there was a guy named Sam Slovic, and then Sam Slovic gets shared by Rye Bread, and then you have these people that are posting in this like Activism Actually page, and then they're doing they're posting in this other page for Pueblo Éxodo. They're constantly moving their information around, you see, because once people realize where they're talking, where they're planning, where they're putting all of the information of their activities, then you can actually notify authorities and stay ahead of the game. So they create new platforms, and one of the newer platforms where they've just started putting information about the caravan is Voces Sin Fronteras, Voices Without Borders. And I'm going to drop this video of the press conference that was held by the remaining people inside of the warehouse Viento y Marea. Was it like a day ago or two? I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but I'm going to show it to you so that you can kind of see who the main players that are like the spokespeople within the migrant caravan of Spanish speakers, not even all Hondurans, but Spanish speakers of this group. And one of the things I want to tell you about that press conference that they held that really stood out to me was the fact that they brought up this guy's name, Hector Gutierrez. There's a guy in the stripy hat in this video of Voces Sin Fronteras that you're going to see in just a second. I'm just going to play a little clip of it. He's the one that's got the megaphone right at the very beginning. And he is going to tell you in this video, if you listen to it on YouTube, you can find it on YouTube. There's a whole bunch of different people that went to this press conference. And you can find their press conference there. And if you turn on the captions, you can see it in English. So I won't have to tell you everything that's in this video. But he talks about Hector Gutierrez, this guy who he says is the evil mastermind of everything that's gone wrong for the caravan. He is the one responsible for getting them kicked out of the warehouse. He's the one responsible for harming the caravan and putting them in danger. He says, I don't know what that man has against us. I think he hates migrants. I don't know what his problem is, but that guy is our headache. Well, that guy is in this article. And that guy works closely with that senator. the very same Senator Bonilla that got them the warehouse with Father Solalinde in the first place. So are Father Solalinde and the Senator Bonilla friends of the Caravan or enemies of the Caravan? Is Hector Gutierrez one of the people that helped them get the warehouse in the first place? If so, why are they calling him a villain now? Why are they saying that this guy, he's not just a guy. He worked closely with these other two people to get the warehouse. Hector Gutierrez was interviewed in this article, and he said the following. He said he's in close communication with a federal delegate of Baja California, Jaime Bonilla, that's Senator Bonilla, and Hector explained that the reasons why the warehouse had to be evacuated, that was lent to, rented out so that it could be a shelter, a temporary shelter for the migrants that were occupying the street in front of the Benito Juarez ball field, could go so that they could go to a different place than in the street occupying it. And he was quoted as saying the following. El ingeniero, that he's referring to Jaime Bonilla, the senator. The senator was able to secure the location, but the authorities, because of problems and concerns that arose within the warehouse, have now resulted in a report, and of course the condemnation of the building that was issued from that report, that says they can no longer continue here. In the interest of safeguarding their lives and their health, lives and health of the people inside, we cannot take the risk of allowing them to remain there where an infection or another type of disease breakout could take place. We are trying to help them. The place is now condemned. There are seals on the door, and they remain there. Their remaining there is dangerous, damaging. And that's what we're trying to talk to them about now. The buses are outside waiting to take them to El Barretal shelter, where they will receive all the necessary services. Or they have the option of going with a different pastor who has a shelter that is private, Alberto Rivera. And a third option is to go to another shelter called The Bull, which is located in the Vine District. Those of the people in this caravan who have obtained jobs in the vicinity of this warehouse will have a private room rented for them by the senator himself for a week, so that they will not have any harm to their jobs.
Wow.
The whole idea of removing these folks is supposed to be a win-win for everyone. The only thing we want is for them to gain their humanitarian work visas and to begin working. Totally reasonable.
Yeah.
It's incredible, though, because as I pointed out to you in that video, they call him out by name. And they say, you know what? This guy, they also are like, I want to say thank you to the federal police. The federal police have been so nice to us. The federal police are great. And then some others of those in the group say, you know what? I don't like what the federal police did. The federal police did this and the federal police did that. And I will show you that not only do they talk out of both sides in their mouth, they negotiate out of both sides of their mouth. And behind the backs of these officers and these officials whom they make deals with, they simply gut punch them. They stab them in the back and they hit them below the belt. They're very ungrateful people because they draw folks in who genuinely want to help this caravan. They honestly don't know that these folks have other intentions, that they have political leanings, that they have violent tendencies, that they tend to hurt and defraud people in the process of their activism. And people like Senator Bonilla and this businessman Hector Gutierrez and Padre Solalinde have all had a very rude awakening as these ungrateful and rude caravan manipulators and infiltrators have turned their back on the people that got them this warehouse in the first place and are now calling them villains. Let me be very clear. In this article, you can verify this for yourself. Not making any of it up. The quotes are there. Hector Gutierrez also added that there was a problem with communication with the Central Americas that were inside of the warehouse due to North American foreigners manipulating them. They're onto you. They know what you're doing. And he said, unfortunately, the caravans have been manipulated and used by these groups for their own interests. The warehouse is the property of a business owner, which was gifted. He came up with this solution as a gift, as a favor to Senator Bonilla, because the congregation of Father Solalinde's church, Alejandro Solalinde, had promised, in conjunction with the American Christian organization that made the petition in the first place, that they promised they would take care of electricity, light, cleanliness, all this other stuff. That was the agreement. And it didn't happen. It says here that Alejandro Solalinde, he goes, I just called Father Solalinde on the phone to have him help me. And he told me to let me talk with the people in charge of the warehouse. And the business owners in charge of the warehouse hung up the phone.
They burned the bridge.
Oh, they burned lots of bridges here. They're like, nope, not talking to you anymore, Father Solalinde. They're burning bridges for senators in Mexico, for priests who put their good name and their faith into this process that they are being basically burned, and in the end. So I also want to share this other article with you. Here's the second article I'm going to share with you. It is an article from a different publication, also in Spanish, called Extranjeros alientan a migrantes. This is activistas de Estados Unidos frenan desalojo migrante. This headline says that American activists stopped the evacuation of the warehouse. The Mexican media is now very on to these activists that have identified them, as have the police. And in this piece, one of the things I wanted to point out the federal police looked through the place and told them that they needed to evacuate, but the people inside responded aggressive with verbal aggression and said that they refused to leave, saying, No one is leaving. This is an injustice. Racists. First, you put us in this warehouse and we came voluntarily. Now you're throwing us out. They, in this article, talk about the fact that many of these activists have members of them that are connected to anti-fascist groups, Occupy ICE, and as well as By Any Means Necessary. These, organizations that are willing to do what is called action. What is it called?
I'm not sure what they're calling
organizing
the stuff they're doing now.
Thing where they train people direct nonviolent action.
Yeah, direct nonviolent action, right?
Right. So talk a little bit about direct nonviolent action. It's a way to shut things down. We saw some of it at Standing Rock.
Well, it's supposed to be civil disobedience, and you're supposed to, it comes from like Gandhi and these other leaders that Martin Luther King, that you wouldn't use violence, but you would go limp or chain yourself to something, or make you get arrested, or you would block something, but you wouldn't resist, and law enforcement would have to deal with you, and what they most likely do is they try to negotiate, get you to leave or whatever, and then they end up arresting you. So this has been taught in kind of this new age of activism, nonviolent direct action, but I don't see the real principles. I see it's kind of a strategic countermeasure, military style action that tries to draw out and provoke and to really, really irritate the what they see as the aggressors. So I see the base essence of what nonviolent civil disobedience is supposed to be, being changed into a kind of a tactical military style aggressive organizing. I don't. Every time I hear it, for me, it's a flag goes up and it says, "Oh, if they're teaching that, what are they really doing? What's in the background of that?"
And in this article, the commissioner of the police, federal police in the state of Baja California, Juan Carlos Moran Quintero, said that he cautioned the people of the migrant caravan to not let themselves be manipulated by these activists, these foreigners with these foreign interests, because they were not only breaking the law, but also putting the lives of the Central Americans at risk. And for his part in this article, Hector Gutierrez, who is identified as a collaborator of Senator Jaime Bonilla. So either these people are so ignorant of Hector Gutierrez's position that they don't know that they're attacking and insulting one of the collaborators of the senator. And also, apparently, they were very rude to the priest, Solalinde. So they're either intentionally spitting on the people that helped them and burning bridges, or they're doing it without realizing that, you're attacking Senator Bonilla's man in this.
Wow.
He also accused these folks of utilizing the migrants to create chaos, saying, unfortunately, the caravan has been manipulated and used by these groups with other interests. We've tried to help them to obtain their humanitarian visa, but these Americans are inciting them to cross the border in groups. They're onto you.
Yep, they are.
They know that you're breaking the law. And if you get caught in the action, you're going to go to jail. Recordó que el lugar había sido prestado por un mes. He also reminded the press that the warehouse had only been lent for rental by the business owner for 1 month, so that they would leave the street, so they would stop occupying the street. The idea of sheltering this caravan was never that the state of Baja California or anywhere in Mexico was required to, give shelter, food, and rent-free shelter and free food for in perpetuity to the caravan. That's not a thing that we do for any migrants, not here, not there, not anywhere. But to provide them a place to shelter until they could get their humanitarian visa or get across the border or decide whether they were going to go home or find the means to go home.
Yeah.
So it was never meant to be permanent. And the fact that these folks are trying to continue to keep this going, even as the numbers of the caravan that are at El Barretal are hovering at around 2K, and those that are now at the warehouse are around 60. Trying to keep this going as long as they possibly can for political gain, for financial gain. It's definitely something that they're aware of, and they are onto you. The authorities, the media, the Congress members, their assistants, they're all now onto you. We will continue to inform the people of Mexico and the authorities in Mexico of all of those who are trading in propaganda in the media, putting the lives of the caravan at risk, interfering with government functions, and in general causing chaos. So I wanted to start off with Doug McLean and show you he's still there. He's not dressed as Santa anymore, but he is posting about this standoff. In this post, you can see Doug McLean is posting a post that does not, he's reposting someone else's post. Kei Kurimoto posted photos of her assistance in the resistance against the eviction from this warehouse. They've got food and water. They've got a picture of what you can see there is a truck from the World Kitchen. That's Chef Andres's, the chef from Spain that does all of the humanitarian work that went to Puerto Rico and stuff.
Oh.
Andres, he apparently sent a truck with food for the shelter. I don't think he has anything to do with Kei Kurimoto or Doug McLean or any of these Standing Rock phonies, but I think they were celebrating, Kei Kurimoto was celebrating the fact that the World's Kitchen, Chef Andres's group, was there to support that shelter. By the way, I saw the video when the World Kitchen's truck pulled up, and the police let one of the people from inside that was designated to bring in food and water and other things to take the food to the people inside. But they were not, the World's Kitchen was not allowed to go inside and set up.
I see.
So if you go back to that, you'll also see what the post says. Can you read that post for me?
Yeah, sure. Here at Benito Juarez in Tijuana, asylum seekers have taken care of each other as family as they wait for their opportunity to cross the border and legally seek asylum. The government has been trying to shut the camp down. For 3 days, the police have barricaded the shelter in an attempt to get people to move to another camp, which is under government control. In an attempt to keep their autonomy, asylum seekers have made their stand to stay here together. Medics, legal observers, and supporters have been holding vigils in solidarity outside of the camp with them 24 hours a day. We're only originally blocked from bringing food and supplying basic needs due to the court decisions. The asylum seekers we've awarded that they should be able to receive food, water, and have access to the restrooms. It has been a beautiful witness to support locals in Tijuana. Independent volunteers and nonprofit organizations on the ground all work together to take care of our friends. Please support our work by donating so we can keep meeting the most current needs. Every dollar helps. Then they have a GoFundMe there.
Yes, that's her GoFundMe.
Ah.
She set up that GoFundMe. I will show it to you in a moment. But it's not as innocent as it seems, you see. I want to show you a post of Evan Dukes that he posted just today. They are there in solidarity with the resistance, they claim. But look at their messaging. Kei Kurimoto talks about how they've negotiated. They're helping with legal advice and such to negotiate for the people in the warehouse to continue to receive food and water and use of the bathrooms as if anyone were preventing them from getting food and water, as if they were being in some way having their human rights violated by the police or by the closure of this warehouse, when in fact they are in a health hazard that has been by the federal government the cause of that place to be condemned. Now, on this January 7th post, if you could read it for me.
Yep, Evan Duke. The shelter still stands. A judge has ordered that the eviction is illegal. Cops,
not true.
That's not true. Cops still have barricades up. They're letting people out, but not in. The chief of police for Baja showed up to say that observers here should be persuading people to leave, and that everyone inside is subject to arrest. We dropped off breakfast, and we have a tea coffee station up. Autonomous activists, locals, and journalists are holding a solidarity vigil outside. Local Trump supporters and fascist groups have threatened to march on the shelter today. We are here, calm and vigilant in a good way.
See how the narrative is about the police are saying this.
Yeah.
Everyone has been told that they are subject to arrest. It's not true.
No, it's not true.
A judge has not said that the eviction is illegal. That's not true. At any moment, this police chief could remove all of those people. But he is trying to, as he himself, you will hear him say in a video, which I will share the link to. I won't play the whole thing because it's like an hour long. But I will share the link so you can watch it for yourselves. He speaks in Spanish, so if you don't know Spanish, you're not going to understand it. That's why I've translated most of what he said for you here. But he says in that video that these activists are keeping him from doing his job of protecting people, of keeping them safe from this health risk. And that at any moment that he deems necessary, he can remove everyone from that building. He repeats it over and over again. Nothing has changed. These folks wanted to get another restraining order from a judge, and they were trying to bide their time to see if they could make some other kind of legal maneuver with their lawyers to try to stop the warehouse from being evacuated. But you can't unring the health violation bell. It's already a consummated act. People have been pooping and peeing inside the warehouse for over a month now.
Yeah.
People have been using illicit substances that have been documented inside the warehouse for over a month now. People have been violating health codes for a lot of different reasons. They found cases of tuberculosis and chickenpox inside the warehouse. Just today, they found a child that had a fever of 39 degrees Celsius and had this fever for 3 days in a row, whose mother had not taken her to the doctor. And they were begging this woman to take her kid to a hospital immediately. And so this officer is trying to ensure that people in this warehouse, out of a sense of desire of keeping women and children there, don't end up killing women and children there.
Exactly.
And there are numerous health risks in that building. No ventilation, no windows,
No electricity.
No running water, all sorts of things. I wanted to show you some of the photos Evan Duke posted of this stand in solidarity. As you can see, there are a group of activists, some with folding chairs, that are on a tarp in the middle of the road. This is the Cinco de Mayo street. They basically began to occupy the street, the road. Caravan goers and activists that had been inside the warehouse that stepped out to use the bathroom or go get food or meet with their friends or talk on their phone or smoke a cigarette or whatever they did, that got, or decided to leave because they were told to go outside and wait for everyone else on the buses,
Yeah.
got left out on the street. There was a group of people that got on the buses and left on the buses for other shelters. And then there were people that decided they would leave the building as they were instructed, but they weren't going to get on the buses. So when the buses left, they got left on the street. And then it rained or it drizzled overnight. So they got wet. People started setting up tarps to keep the people that decided to stay on the street from getting wet. And the police said, "Oh, no, you're not. You're not going to occupy the street illegally again. We're not starting this." So they were ordered to evacuate the street. Just as they're being ordered to evacuate this warehouse that's been condemned due to a health hazard. Here's a second photo. You can see they're setting up the food out there. That's part of the public street. That is literally part of the roadway on which they're setting up this propane tank and this portable stove, right? This too cannot just exist on the roadway. And here's the third picture. You can see the police are there, probably coming to tell the people there they can't be on the roadway.
Yeah, really. Get off the road.
Right. And here's another photo. This one shows Miss Kurimoto with some other people there preparing food. So this is in the Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network. And you can see Vivian Farmery, one of the people that posts and is an admin in that page or posts frequently in that page that I showed you earlier on, is commenting. Just want to make sure you can see they're all connected to each other. Remember the other person that I told you was in Baja California and speaking Spanish and misinforming people and spreading misinformation and lies? Laura Christina Livingston Berger, a.k.a. Lolly B. Here she is, linked, tagged with Jake Lee. Jake Lee, the guy that was giving out free legal advice to people that want to request asylum and or be sponsors on a video live feed. That Jake Lee is tagged with K. Kurimoto. And what does that say, Duke?
Report after communicating with the water protectors who were on the ground in Tijuana, Mexico all night. The judge ordered a stay on the eviction of this morning, so there are still migrants inside Benito Juarez shelter. He's got the wrong place. True to the mission of providing for basic needs in a crisis situation, it makes me smile that our friends were delivering 20 pizzas to the migrants inside the shelter during detention. If you'd like to contribute to that cause, the link is below. The riot police arrived at the Benito Juarez shelter where migrants from Honduras were awaiting their right to ask for asylum at the nearby border with the USA. The police want them all to move to a faraway shelter that is not managed well, little food, and poor medical care are provided. The migrants have written a letter which I paraphrase in English here. The people are thanking the community in Tijuana for their hospitality and apologizing for any damages. They would like to be able to stay until January 24th and leave peaceably on their own. They have been maintaining their encampment, but the police are not letting the garbage trucks in to pick up, and they blame them for having a mess. There are only 160 people currently remaining there. Many have moved to other shelters, some have asked for asylum, some have been put into detainment centers, and others have been deported back to their home country. They're asking for more time to stay here because they would rather be here than at Baratel. The large shelter, despite not having water or power inside as they had been promised, they have a bathroom and basic needs are met. People would rather remain here with their group nearby to the federal police station who have been supporting them and to the border. They have been helped by Doctors Without Borders, especially with the problem of respiratory illnesses. The police have buses and riot gear, but it's unclear if they'll move in tonight. This has happened before over the last couple of weeks. Please donate here. The most trusted friends on the ground, now helping people every day to have their basic needs met, as well as support the complex asylum process. I will be joining them again next week.
And there's the pizzas that were delivered to the people inside of El Barretal. And if you scroll down even further, you will see somebody saying, Terry Dubois said,
Standing Rock, North Dakota, 7G's Kitchen Memories.
yeah,
Yeah.
people recall how pizzas were brought in to Standing Rock, ordered and by people that are trying to help the resistance, the people that were staying there.
Yeah.
Same kind of messaging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it has to be demoralizing to the federal officials there trying to keep the peace and get people out of there and protect people from this health risk, to see them showing up with a bunch of pizzas and tossing the food over their heads so that they can get it inside of the shelter. Here's a GoFundMe that you saw at the bottom of that clip, of that post. It's the same GoFundMe posted by Kurimoto. She wants $5,000. If you would read, there's Jake Lee in the picture. And do you recognize some of those kids in the background? You might recognize some of them from that picture that was posted by Adam Elfers about the 5 American heroes, and some of the pictures that we saw that Adam Elfers' friend was posting of the kids that were taken to that nice house to play pool and to go eat pizza.
Eat pizza, yes, I remember that.
And what does it say down below?
It says, support our relatives of the migrant caravan.
How do you support them?
Money.
What does it say they do for them?
Let's see. Oh, they're saying the thing they walked for,
Right.
2 months, and
The caravan is just becoming to highlight a humanitarian injustice, the humanitarian crisis.
Mm-hmm.
But it says, so first they want to feed their relatives, right?
Yep.
Offering them shelter, looking them in the eye as equal human beings. Then the humanitarian crisis part talks about ICE detention centers. They talk about the people of the caravan and how they can help them in Tijuana, Mexico. And so what they're doing is they are
making another flop house. It looks like they're creating a collective of grassroots activists.
It's for them. It's money for them.
It's money
for the activists.
And they're making this place. We have built. They're saying a lot of stuff, but they're not saying what they're going to do with the money. We'd like to continue to support basic hygiene and food donations. Okay, there's something specific.
Right.
Especially perishable items. A lot of donations have been sent to the border. However, with monetary donations, we can supplement items that are needed the most. So give them money, not cash. Don't send them the actual stuff. They're talking about relationships with asylum seekers, and they would like to have funds to aid in their ICE detention commissary fund, so they can make phone calls in their sponsorship process for bond money.
They want to put people in detention centers, and they want you to give them money so that they can put money in the commissary of the people that they put in detention centers. And also they want you to give money so that they can pay these activists, these anarchists, these people that are delaying government functions, so they can have a pay for their illegal activities.
Yeah, they even have one in here that there's been they need an emergency fund because activists have had trouble on the ground traveling around. We've already had tires slashed, broken windows, and met the police. I don't know what they mean by that. Met the police. They all cost money. Met the police, like being arrested or something. I haven't seen any of the activists being arrested for, actually being affront of what they're doing there. I can see them getting arrested when they're disobeying the police orders and not getting out of the shelter or getting out of the way. And it's like, if you're not be able to support monetarily, then it's just impactful to volunteer for those who need you in your community.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have time for that, at least smile at a stranger today.
Now, another person that was tagged along with the Kurimoto post that was shared by Evan Duke and was shared, this GoFundMe shared by Lolly B, is this another woman named Katrina Coravos or Coravos. I don't know how you pronounce her name. She's in this picture with Adam Elfers. She's the one wearing the gray shirt that's all the way to the left, right next to Lolly B in the green jacket.
All right.
And then, of course, right there in the middle, you have Kurimoto, Kei Kurimoto, with her little teal scarf.
Yeah.
And then there's some Adam Elfers, some of the people from the Migrant Caravan, and Jake Lee in the background with the sunglasses.
And the Pizza Boys.
Yes. And what do you see her saying here?
Oh, she's like, whoops.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Hopefully that didn't mess anything up. Reaching out here to my community. We are looking for people who can sponsor and house asylum seekers. I know many of my friends have been asking how they can help. If you have space in your house and you want to help those that are walking towards a new dream, this is the way. If you're interested, PM me. Thank you all that have been at the backs of these resilient people. And do not believe the media hype that people I met in Tijuana are good-hearted people just trying to find peace. And, when I look, I recognize a couple of these characters that were like at the pizza party with that other guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like they keep on promoting them. They keep on promoting them like the poster people of this thing. You think that they would, they're really earnest in, trying to get help, that they would be helped by now, but they're being used to raise some more cash.
Yes. Then you have another post where she talks about her connection to Enclave Caracol and how important this place is. What I found really interesting about her retelling of her visit there is right there. Stop. It says, one of the days that we were there, we volunteered in the kitchen to help prepare our lunch for the people. I was on chili duty and stood with other people from the U.S., slicing and de-seeding chilies for hours. I met some amazing people there. Law students, nonprofit members, environmental activists, all people that are showing up in the world with care and presence. So this place is a place to meet for a lot of the people, the same kind of people that we saw that were adding themselves to the Standing Rock Standoff here in North Dakota. That went on for over a year. If you recall, it went on for over a year.
That's right.
And here's her connection to Doug McLean. All these folks are connected together. Again, it's a huge network of people. These are the folks currently there in Tijuana in this particular shelter and part of this standoff. This woman here, okay? Kai Kurimoto, Doug McLean, Sam Slovic,
wow,
Rob Wilson. There she is, Karina Karovos. She's right next to Doug under his armpit. And under his armpit next to her is Kei Kurimoto. And then, of course, you see Adam Elfers in that picture next to Lolly B. The person with the sunglasses is Jake Lee.
Okay.
Starting to see, this is a group of the people that he's with currently down there that are all there to shake it up.
Yeah.
And to keep it going, to keep the standoff going. Hopefully, it will not end in something that hurts or kills someone.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is exactly what these folks want. One of the person that I didn't put a video up today of her or information about her. I did mention her name, Rye Bread. She goes by Rye Bread.
Oh, yeah? That's
not her real name.
Uh-huh.
But she goes by Rye Bread on Facebook. And her real name is, let's see, Ryan, Julia Ryan.
Okay.
Or Ryan Julia, I don't know. Spelled Ryanna. Anyway, she has videos up of her being outside of there. She works with media in California. She's from SoCal. And she was also outside of the Barretal, out of the outside of the warehouse, along with the rest of these folks. So I wanted to show you the World Kitchen picture. There's the decal on the side of the truck, and she says right there, World Central Kitchen delivers lunch.
Yep.
They've had a lot of people. Not, I don't believe that they're associated in any way with any of this, but they're not making those distinctions, so I will. Here is some of the people in this group. What looks like maybe her house, because it looks like someone's house.
Yep.
And she is from SoCal. Also, so I don't know if all the rest of these people are, but you can see there's Lolly B, there's Jake Lee, there's Doug McLean, there's Adam Elfers. I don't know who the dude is with the dark black hair in the back there next to Adam Elfers. But he is also one of the people hanging out with Tucker, the white kid that was in Antioch College with Lilith Sinclair and Susie Desba. He's in Tijuana now too. They're all down there.
Wow.
And that call out for the walk run, that's just a call out for more people to come out there.
Yep, for sure.
They're getting reinforcements. Here is the Santifa. Oh no, this is the actual Santa Claus with Doug McLean that we showed you. Look who's posting it. Kei Kurimoto. So she was in the warehouse with him and took this picture in Tijuana. She's been around. Let me tell you about Kei Kurimoto. Kei Kurimoto, these are people on the top of this pyramid. Remember I told you this is like a pyramid? The lower level people come in first, and then they build up to these higher level people that have many more connections with politicians, with Hollywood, with power, with money, with those that run these parties and campaigns. She strikes me as one of those. She has a lot of the same connections and photos of events that Winnie Wong did, that Seven McDonald were promoting, and that Maggie Day were involved with. So my guess is that she has those kinds of connections in terms of planning events, getting people together, and managing people, personalities, and live stream celebrities, reality celebrities in real time. Here is her with Santifa and that kid Tucker that I was just telling you about.
Oh yeah.
That's her. There's Jake Lee. There's Santifa. Remember I showed you?
Yep.
He was going to supposedly go. So they're all, as much as they say we are not Antifa, and they have repeatedly said that they're not with any groups. What are you? Are you with an organization? Are you part of a group? No. They say no, even though they are associated with different groups and organizations. I showed you the names of the groups and those organizations right here on my show, A Mexican Crossing Lines. Are you anti-fascist? Nope. Are you... They deny. I'm showing you the proof positive that it's true. There they are with Santifa. Here is Kurimoto with Jake Lee right there in the front, and a lot of the same folks here that we the American Hero picture. This is the same picture she used for the GoFundMe. Did you figure that out?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what they took this photo for, to use it for the GoFundMe. And then you can see she promotes stuff having to do with Native Americans, and specifically with those associated with Standing Rock. Here's a poster from her page promoting an agape community event featuring Arvel Looking Horse.
Oh, wow.
And it says, look at the jargon they use. Water Protect Your Family, gathering in Massachusetts tomorrow, Saturday, April, or what is it? Saturday, something, agape community in Hardwick, Massachusetts. Hope to see you there.
Okay.
Then they went to MIT. We have Paula Antoine.
Oh, wow.
There's Paula Antoine, the lady that set up, she was at Standing Rock. She was the one that went to set up the Flint camp, the Flop House in Flint.
Wow.
With Mama LaDonna's money. The Flint Flop House, the Wolf's Den, whatever they called it, where they set up Camp Promise. And they, led by that skinhead, Ryan Laurie.
Okay, yeah.
And where they also took veterans. They also did all these other, weird things that we saw in many other camps for pipeline protests all around the country. Some that still persist even to this day, even to this moment, all over here in the United States and in Canada. So here's a picture of Kurimoto's Facebook where she shows she was in Michigan. Look, there she is in Flint.
Oh, wow.
Flint. She was right there in Flint, Michigan. You recognize the guy all the way on the end in the blue?
Oh.
The Native American guy that was traveling with people in Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
Remember his face? Yes. So you can see she's definitely part of that same crowd. And here she is with Pugliese, Tina Pugliese in Santa Barbara, California, of Women Indigenous Media, the one that went to Hawaii with Ed Higgins and LaDonna Allard. That Tina Pugliese.
Wow.
There she is. They're connected. Make no mistake about it. Here she is with Myron Dewey and his drone at Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Not just anywhere flying the drone. When was the last time you went to Martha's Vineyard, honey?
Never been there.
Isn't it kind of a swanky place?
I think so, yeah.
Don't like presidents and stuff go on the vacations there?
Yep, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, see, this is why she strikes me as that kind of girl. And then we have Kurimoto with John Gonzalez, or Standing Bear, whatever he calls himself, his Indian name.
Yeah.
And in case you weren't sure if that was really Myron Dewey hanging out with her, there he is from the front.
Yep.
Just to verify. And James Spion is the person that helped make the Awake documentary along with Jock Fox.
Okay.
He was one of the other documentary filmmakers that worked on that film. So she works with the same people that Seven McDonald and Maggie Day did in these circles. You see that? And then, of course, we have her connection to the Muslims that went out to Standing Rock.
Okay.
There she is posting about them. Maybe she knows. She probably knows Linda Sarsour.
Yeah.
She probably had something to do with helping her get out there. And, of course, where would these PR hacks be without the talent that they manage?
Yeah.
Here she is with one of the people we know is managed by Seven McDonald and Winnie Wong and Maggie Day and all those people, Dave Matthews.
Dave Matthews.
As you will recall, they were even able to help get mercenary and professional liar Bill Running Fisher of Eagle Child Consulting, who was working directly for Michael A. Wood Jr. out at Standing Rock with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, and Wes Clark Jr., a picture with Dave Matthews at a concert that they managed to put together at Standing Rock.
Wow.
These same promoters. So, of course, she got her picture in with him, too.
Yep.
And she was the one that delivered those pizzas to the shelter. It was her money from that GoFundMe that was used to deliver the pizzas. Specifically her. See?
Wow.
Pizza delivery into the shelter. Renegade style. They're proud of it. They're proud of it. They're proud that they're going over the heads of the officials. They're proud that they're detaining government function. They're proud to keep this health hazard going. Here is what Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network was posting about Juan Mencias, the chief of the Come Crudo tribe. This is a post by David Gaskin, who also is using digital smoke signals, as you recall, called Unity Has No Borders. And this video is about unity with the walk-run thing that they're going to do.
Okay.
It's David Gaskin, who's been living in Mexico. He says he looks like a white dude. Straight up looks like a white dude. But he says that he's an enrolled member of the tribe. And there's a lot of people from the Métis tribes, like the Turtle Mountain Chippewa, that definitely do look on the lighter side. But this guy put out a video, and look for the credits at the end, folks. You'll notice Tina Pugliese was helping make this video. See how it all comes full circle. Here's that video.
As stewards of our sacred Mother Earth, it's our obligation to step up when corporations attack our plants, animals, waters, and our ancestral lands. Right now, the United States government is in the process of destroying the Yellow Butterfly Village in Mission, Texas, for the construction of the United States and Mexico border wall. This will not only negatively affect the Yellow Butterfly Village, but also many ecosystems and our native homelands. Currently, we are walking and running from the east and west ends of the border, where we will meet in the middle at Juarez, Mexico, and El Paso, Texas, on approximately February 2nd, February 3rd, 2019. We are asking you to join us in solidarity and in unity to bring awareness to the border wall construction, and we also encourage you to come and speak about any impacts that it will have on your areas. As one people, we are united, and through this unity we are showing how the border wall construction is having negative impacts. We greatly appreciate your support and prayers for this journey, and we hope to see you on the road. You can follow us on social media by looking up our Facebook page, Unity Has No Borders. Chimiguich, muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're recording right now. I guess you decided to record. Hey, there's the staff. Boom. Who's this guy next to me? Hey, Peter. All right, guys. We will see you in Juarez, Mexico. Unity Has No Borders.
Wow. Not sure what to think about that one.
Yeah. So, I've seen this posted around other places as well. But I told you about this walk-run thing that is gearing up to happen, and it's another call out to a lot of people to join it. I also wanted to show you what's recently been posted in Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network. This was just today. And it is an official statement that was posted by a guy named Noah Miller. More about him in a moment. Could you please...
What's in Spanish?
Oh, that's right. I got to read this one myself. A quien corresponda, to whom it may concern. As an international citizens who are here to who are here to support those inside of the shelter Contra Viento y Marea against wind and surf, quisiéramos aclarar algunos puntos claves que se han dicho sobre nosotros. Would like to clear up a few important points about things that have been said about us. First of all, somos amigos de la migrante y refugiados. We are friends of the migrant and the refugee. We were invited by them to be here. We are not interfering in any of the process or decision making of the migrants. We are here working. We are also not here working with any group or organization. As friends of theirs, we are giving humanitarian aid and being witnesses to events. We are here in solidarity with our migrant friends in these difficult times. They are who will decide when they want us to leave, and we will follow their petition, their requests. The authorities will not allow us to move freely to the front of this warehouse space. At various points, they have denied us the ability to receive donations of food and water that come from the outside. We would also like for people to know that we are not connected in any way to the group known as BAM by any means necessary. We reject their tactics, and as they put people's safety and that of the migrants at risk. And it's signed by friends of the wind and surf shelter. Okay. I want you to show the second one because you missed the bottom part, so you got to go all the way to the bottom. Scroll, yeah, and now it says, yo reinerio Laenes como presidente de la Comité de Migrantes en Contra Viento y Marea. Quiero comunicar que nosotros invitamos a estos amigos que son ciudadanos de Estados Unidos y de México para que nos acompañen. Ellos tienen la invitación de darnos apoyo humanitario y observar cómo nos tratan las autoridades. Ellos nunca han hecho y no hacen decisiones por los migrantes. Reinerio Laenes. Now, I'm going to show you who he is in a minute, but let me tell you what that means. It says, as the president of the committee of the migrants of this shelter, I would like to communicate to you that we are the ones that invited these American friends to be, these American and Mexican friends to be here with us. They are giving us, at our invitation, they are providing us with humanitarian aid and legal observers of how the authorities treat us. They have never, nor will they, make any decisions for migrants. And then it's signed by the guy who claims to be the president of the shelter of this shelter, the president of the committee of the migrants of the shelter. They have their own president now,
I guess.
And the Noah Miller person in question here then recently posted what this says in English according to their translation, which I will now read. Is that the whole thing?
Yeah, so we've got decisions of the migrants. We are not working on behalf of any group or organization. We are here as observers, standing in solidarity with the migrants during these difficult times. They are the ones who will tell us when to leave, and we will follow those decisions. The authorities are not allowing us to move freely in and out of the space. On many occasions, the authorities have denied us the ability to receive donations of food and water from the outside. We would like to state that there is no way connected to the group known as BAM or by any means necessary.
But they are, and I showed everyone the connections.
That's right. We reject the tactics of this group which risk the safety of the migrants. Friends of Contra
So you can go to that post on Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network and see for yourself what their English version of the translation is. Mine was better, guys.
Yeah, I just thought you just said this. Most of these words,
But not all of them. They did fail at translating some of those things correctly. Here is the Facebook page of Reinero Lainez, the guy that signed as the president of this group.
I see.
He hasn't posted anything for a long time.
Yeah.
So, not a lot to see there, but that's the dude. I just wanted you to take a look at his mug. And here is Noah Miller's Facebook page. Here is a video. Where's the post? Noah Miller. I'm missing something. Noah Miller posted this video on his Facebook page yesterday. Okay? So it wasn't as if Noah Miller posted this on his Facebook page a long time ago or disconnected from what's happening at this shelter, where there is a police presence now going for the fourth day. Riot police in full riot gear, and that have been standing and dialoguing with these folks around the clock, doing inspections. You just heard this person, Noah Miller, post this thing that I read to you about how they're not there to interfere. They're just there to observe. This is, the police are offending them. This is what's going on. Here's what Noah Miller posted, the latest thing that he's posted in several days. And this he posted yesterday as he's posting this official statement on behalf of the people inside. Here's the video. For those of you who couldn't see what was on the screen, Noah Miller posted a video of a group of people. I don't know where this video is from.
Yeah, me either.
He titled it F the Badge and Shield.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I'm not using the expletive he used, but he did write the full expletive. So it's kind of F the police type of a message that he posted on his page yesterday. As the police were having interactions with them that he is now posting about publicly on this asylum seekers page, asking for support, trying to say they're the ones being repressed by the police. They're the ones being denied movement, food, water, etc. Right? Donations, they said. But that's what he posted. Here's a picture of him from his Facebook page. That's Noah Miller with his face covered. He doesn't have any other pictures where you can see his face on his Facebook. This is a problem because these folks that are there to provide humanitarian aid as advisors, working with legal teams, as activists, working with organizations, as legal observers, working for human rights, are covering their faces. I've showed you videos of them attacking people in the press for filming them in public.
Yeah.
Are being rude, authoritarian, militaristic, and claiming that they're not doing anything wrong. They're the victims. They're the ones being aggressed upon. Here is pictures of the kinds of things that Noah gets involved in. This isn't Noah's first rodeo. Noah's hanging out. This is the kind of thing he encounters. This is a picture of him holding a rubber bullet from when, Duke?
It says December 13th, 2000. A little bit bigger. 16?
Yeah.
December 13th, 2016.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where that was taken, but that's definitely a rubber bullet.
Yep.
And what I can tell you, I know because I saw them at Standing Rock.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe that's where he got that one. But what I can tell you is that when Noah shows up places, rubber bullets are fired. He is where those things happen. That's true for Rob Wilson as well. And another person that is in that building right now, in this standoff, telling people how horrible she's being treated, how unfair all of this is Lilith Sinclair. Here's her post about how Lilith is being tortured. Sinclair, torture.
The video? Oh.
Sinclair.
Okay, got you right here.
And she says, you want to read that for me, dude?
Sure. Lilith Sinclair. I spent the last 19 hours straight with my asylum seekers' relatives as federal Mexican riot cops attempted to starve, dehydrate, intimidate, degrade, and terrorize them. Some of this they did successfully. This, coupled with 4 hours and 20 minutes of sleep in the last 48 hours, means I have absolutely no capacity for anything. I'll respond to your texts and messages as soon as possible, sending you love. Update to clarify. This is still happening. When press isn't around, they're allowing people to give donations to the migrants they have kettled in a concrete warehouse turned shelter. This included basic needs like water, food, and sanitation products, along with requests like cups for drinks. They have and still are refusing to allow access to bathrooms, and the people are forced to pee in buckets inside the small tents in the building or leave the shelter to exist like a human being and be barred from re-entry. Police literally turned down water donations for migrants, media, and activists, saying they were out of water inside. People had to throw donations over the police's head to get them inside. I'm still processing this, and I don't have the words to fully explain the things I'm missing at this time, and I'm definitely missing things, but sharing about what I've experienced without highlighting that it is still happening to more marginalized people was wrong of me in my personal opinion. To keep up to date, follow Ron Wilson Photography, a friend with plenty of content on the situation. I'll sit down to explain my experience once more when I accurately can.
Mm-hmm. Here's what they were going there to do. Remember, I showed you Lilith Sinclair and these folks who were all in Tijuana, all posting in the Caravan Network support thing, went to Antioch College in Ohio.
That's right.
Remember that Susie was going to be on the radio on that thing? Lilith Sinclair was too. Here's part of her interview she posted.
Main camps in Texas are sort of multi-tiered because there's going to be two camps. Or two villages, I should say. So the first village is in Floresville, and that village is going to act as an orientation. So this is where the bulk of our learning will be.
So the education component.
Yes. And so the idea behind this initial village in Floresville is to welcome activists in, give them an orientation on the project itself, what it is we're doing, give them an orientation on the rules of engagement and protocols for when they move forward onto the Butterfly Center village, and to also give them the opportunity to do the learning that they need to be able to effectively do that. So there's a couple of different things that we're primarily focusing on as far as education for activists wanting to move forward that's not directly related to the Indigenous cultural history side of things. And so what we're wanting to make sure that activists have a grasp on is know your rights trainings, making sure we're helping people be informed as to what it is and isn't possible for them to be engaged in lawfully. And what the risks are for the different types of engagement that they have. So that's one of them, is Know Your Rights training. Another one is we want to make sure that people actually understand what is nonviolent direct action. Because these camps are, and these villages, I should say, these villages are being set up as permanent structures where people can make a physical stand against these human rights atrocities in a peaceful way and in a nonviolent way. So we'll be doing nonviolent direct action trainings. What does that look like? What are different tactics that people use to stop, like wall construction or stop pipeline construction in a peaceful way, but that is still aggressive? Because there's a difference between the general idea of what resistance is, and all of the sort of violent connotations that come with the word resistance, and nonviolent, peaceful, direct action that we do in an aggressive way. So there's a way that you can tie in being peaceful with being aggressive and intentional. And so that falls under things like what you saw at Standing Rock with, people connecting themselves with PVC pipe and duct tape and chains, so that they're not doing anything but existing in a radical manner, but it still puts a burden on and puts a stop to the work that the government is trying to do. So we'll be doing Know Your Rights trainings, nonviolent direct action trainings. We're also going to be having conversations with people about generational trauma and sort of setting up a protocol for assessing what level of trauma people are coming in with, and giving them the skills and the coping methods, and making sure that they are able to successfully and healthily be involved in, this sort of traumatic experience that inherently comes with standing up to the United States federal government, because we know that the U.S. federal government is the most militarized government in the entire world. We know that they are needlessly brutal and needlessly violent, no matter how peaceful activists are being. So we want to make sure that people are prepared on all fronts for that. And then the fourth really important piece is documentation and aggressive media strategies. So we want to make sure people know, how do you document? How do you make sure that you're getting the shots that you need to get? How do you operate a drone, for instance, and make sure that you're getting those wide shot footage compilations that are needed to really show the full scope of what exactly the federal government is doing, because we know they kind of like to hold their cards.
What's also happening.
Yeah.
If you're not there, it's hard to know. And if you're only following what controlled media sources are telling you, it's hard to have a large scope unless we have these media activists there.
Exactly, for sure.
That's all. So how are you thinking that the Antioch community could be involved?
So what we're really excited about is we've made this partnership with Antioch, and the partnership is super multifaceted, right? And so it's a verbal support. It's a verbal backing and commitment to making sure that the Antioch campus and itself, its students and its staff and its faculty are behind us to say that we support what the Border Support Network is doing. But also, we've made partnerships to bring students into the mix. And the students at Antioch, I've already learned, come from all walks of life. It's a really amazing campus and a really amazing culture here that is really centered on social justice and really centered on creative learning and creative education. And so for people who don't know, the Antioch campus has cooperative programs built into their educational style. And so with the co-ops, which are opportunities for hands-on learning in a variety of different fields, in a variety of different places all across not only the country but around the globe, we have the opportunity to take the education aspect of the border support networks and tie that in to the cooperative learning methods at Antioch. So we'll be looking to build strong and useful curriculum that we can take forward, and we can sort of merge these two things together so that we can bring students into the mix and give them an opportunity to learn what does it look like to be an activist, and what does it look like to be not only an activist but an organizer. What does that look like, and how do you move forward in that field? And in that, not even necessarily field isn't the right word, but how do you live a lifestyle that is centered around social justice in a direct and meaningful way? And so that's super, super exciting to be able to have that partnership. And then the third level of partnership is also moving forward to sort of activate and mobilize not only the students and teachers and staff and faculty here, but also reaching out to make broader networks and broader alliances with colleges across the country. So that's really exciting.
Is that the next step?
That is the next step. We'll be working on getting a fuller, broader proposal written up that we can go ahead and move forward and start reaching out to people who would like to be involved and who would like to make the commitment that Antioch has made in partnership with what we're doing here.
Okay. So that was 13 minutes. Just letting you know, I thought that was a good pause because that was a point where like it could end, and I don't.
So, I feel very bad for Antioch College, MIT, all of these places where these frauds and phonies have been showing up, teaching their brand of organizing. Did you know you've been an organizer for over a quarter of a century, Duke? And I would just like to ask you, what is the lifestyle? Could you explain what the lifestyle she was talking about is?
I don't know what she was talking about. They're throwing out these words, activist, organizer, and she says, not a field. And yeah, community organizing is a field. There's been community organizers that have led all sorts of people movement situations in neighborhoods and in Congress and communities. Saul Alinsky was a Jewish Russian American who was an organizer in Chicago. There's been very, very great organizers who have. Barack Obama was a community organizer. Paid community organizers that get jobs with organizations that have a mission to help make a better community and build power with people. These people are throwing all these words around. They're activists and organizers. They're interchanging them. They don't know what leaders are. They're messing up all the terminology that's around organizing. And there's institutes that teach community organizing. There's colleges that have community organizing classes. I mean, it's definitely a field. So they're just making stuff up and
they're astroturfing organizing.
Yeah, they are very much.
And here's the crazy part. Most of them don't have any background in doing the work that they are now promoting themselves as being experts in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Myron Dewey just started flying this drone and he's, doing a media platform. The guy can barely talk. Like he's not very good at public speaking. He doesn't have a very understandable diction. And yet he's on a media platform supposedly informing people and educating people. And then, of course, he's, flying his drone in countries that have different laws that prohibit American citizens from doing those things. And they're talking about, this trauma, generational trauma. That's Dewey again.
Oh, yeah.
That comes from the whole Faith Spotted Eagle school. This idea that you're going to incorporate these past traumas that people, they need to go around healing people from that, that are locked deep inside. So also, I wonder, what is the background of most of these folks? What gives them the skill set to be doing this work, especially with international migration and immigration law and the border and the detention centers and advising people as they have been in Mexico with the National Lawyers Guild lawyers and also with all of these volunteers giving out basically impromptu legal advice to this migrant caravan. And I'm maybe I'm not looking enough, but I'm not finding that background in these fields. One thing that Lilith Sinclair is a very proud about in her background is that she's a sex worker. Here's a post that she made. It's public. You can go and look on her page where she talks about being a stripper. She's talking about her work there. Does that qualify you to work with the caravan? She seems to think so. She's like, if you open that post a little bit more so that it's a little bit easier to read, she says, it's Wednesday. I'll be my last shift stripping in Portland before I pack up my whole life, move out of my house, and head down to the border to support the Exodus caravan. I'll be taking a break from sex work, and I planned on starting a vlog focused on sharing asylum seeker stories and sharing firsthand accounts on the ground as we build a network of support for these people. I want people to have access to information from someone organizing on the ground to give updates on our goals, our struggles, and our successes, to be able to see and share the stories of the Exodus Caravan members, and to get a chance to physically see where their money and donations are being spent. If anyone would like to come visit me at work and help support my trip, DM me and I'll let you know what club I'm at. If you want to support my trip but don't want to be forced to see me naked, do so. You can help contribute on my Cash App toward food, gas, recording, and stabilization, equipment backup charges for recording. My Cash App is Little X Hellcat.
Yep.
As always, you can DM me for PayPal info. Thanks in advance. Keep your eyes out for vlog and more. So, I'm going to put a kibosh on the sex worker stuff, stripping, and become an organizer.
That's right.
Doing interviews on the radio at colleges, talking about how to live the lifestyle of an organizer.
That's right.
And do these direct actions. Sounded like there was a lot of violence in the words, in the way it's portrayed. It's a way of masking what they're doing, and she literally compares, as she's talking about these camps, these permanent places that are going to be built along the border to help people in the migrant caravans, as if this is going to be a permanent problem that we have to deal with in America, is to say that, they're going to have these places built for people to come and train and do resistance, like what happened at Standing Rock.
Exactly.
And she says, Standing Rock, we did this. We stopped the pipeline from being built. What is the structure that they're trying to keep from being built? So they claim, right? The wall. One of the things that they've done at the Tijuana border with the use of the migrant caravan was to shut down the border entry for 5 hours one day, costing $5 or $6 billion. And so they have the power to shut down very, very busy entry port in Tijuana, one of the busiest along our country's borders, anywhere. And the fact that they want to keep that group of people at that warehouse, at that location, has a lot more to do with that than it has to do with making sure people stay close to their jobs, close to their lawyers, close to the American dream where they can see the wall in the distance, or in protecting the safety and well-being, emotional, physical, and otherwise, of the people in this caravan. You saw Lilith Sinclair talking about how they're being forced to defecate and urinate in buckets inside of tents. That's not true. No one is forcing them not to go outside and use the porta potty. They refuse to leave a building that has been condemned because of health violations, repeated health violations over weeks of time, with notifications to them, giving them opportunities to correct these problems in the past. Nobody offered to pay or guarantee that they could stay until the 24th, because nobody can guarantee that the renters will not violate their rental contract or violate the terms of people living and being in this building, such that they would have to condemn the building as a result of you being there. Nobody can guarantee that you can stay there for that period of time. They were able to manage these people you are now bad-mouthing through your representatives, Bonilla, El Padre Solalinde, and Gutierrez. They were able to manage to get a businessman to rent out a warehouse to this migrant caravan for a month. And in that time, which they did do, they kept their end of the bargain. In that time, the rules of the rental agreement and the whole health codes of the state of the country were violated, such that they had to kick those people out and evict them. Anybody staying in there is causing a health risk. Anyone that refuses to leave or that is enticing other people to refuse to leave are also committing a crime. They're obstructing a government function. So Sinclair, as I will remind you, went out to Antioch College in Ohio along with Susie Desba and Tucker. She was traveling with them. Here they're talking about that trip. In the post, you can see they mention that they are off to Antioch College for a whirlwind week. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then I want to make sure you see that they're all connected to Bertie Gutierrez and Evan Duke.
Wow.
There's Lilith Sinclair with Evan Duke, the founder of Occupy ICE, Occupy Inauguration, and also Asylum Seeker Caravan Support Network. Right?
Yep.
There they are. He's been right outside. He's there now. Him and Kurimoto and Sinclair and all of these folks. I'm identifying for you a lot of the key players here. Here's that video of the press conference that they held just a day ago of some of the remaining people saying they're going to leave. I'm just going to show you a clip so you can identify the video. Remember kind of what it looks like so you can find it on YouTube or on Voces Sin Fronteras. I will drop the link to this video in the comments of my show so you can find it more easily. Here it is.
One moment.
One moment, please.
One moment. Where is that?
Voces Sin Fronteras.
There it is.
Antes no, o sea, aquí habían 550 personas registradas. De las 550 personas registradas, aquí solo vemos que 60 o 80 personas. O sea, todas se han ido. Todas, hay unos que se han ido para Estados Unidos porque ya pidieron su número, ya entraron allá. Hay otras personas que consiguieron su visa y están trabajando. Y hay otras personas que se fueron ilegalmente y se han ido ilegalmente. Y por eso era nuestra urgencia de estar acá. ¿Por qué nos sentimos bien al estar acá? Porque aquí, si se fijan, nadie, ninguna autoridad policial y ninguno del gobierno, el DIF, ni nadie está metido acá. También quiero ser claro y agradecer a los médicos. Los únicos médicos que han estado con nosotros son médicos y fronteras. Son los únicos médicos. Que el 28 de diciembre vino la unidad médica móvil de México a hacer su peritaje para decir que...
So, part of what they said in this press conference was complaints that they weren't allowed to stay and excuses I think they're going to continue to come up with for why they need to stay in that location, whether occupying the street or holding down the warehouse. And that is, this is a new one, Duke.
Oh, yeah?
They, so some of the people are going to be waiting for people to send them money because they've realized now they're going to have to pay a coyote to get across.
No.
They just realized it right now.
Really?
Yeah, because, they were promised they were going to get asylum. They were promised that they were going to get, somehow they were going to get into the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not working out. So now they have realized they're going to have to get a coyote, and coyotes aren't cheap. So while they're waiting for their family members to send them the money, or while they wait working on their humanitarian visas to raise it themselves, they have to stay there. And they have to stay at that spot.
That spot, yeah.
At that location, yes. That's where the American dream can be palpated the most. You can feel it from the wall emanating. So that's an interesting video because they admit that they need to leave. They admit that they have to leave, but then they come up with a lot of excuses for why you really should just let them stay.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand why you couldn't just let them stay. You just need to stay a little bit longer, just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. And as you know, that turned out to be almost a year and change over in Standing Rock.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I'm going to show you a series of videos of Rob Wilson. The first one is very, very important. I'm only going to show you a little piece of it, and then I'm going to tell you what the police chief said. Not everything. It's over an hour. I mean, it's about an hour long.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to pull out some of the most important and now through this video documented things that the activists and or legal observers, whatever they want to call themselves, journalists, whatever the independent media, whatever they want to call themselves at the moment, are doing to Tijuana, are doing to the Caravan, and are lying about to the public. So I think that this is a very eye-opening set of videos I'm going to share with you. I've already downloaded them for all of posterity. I hope you will too. I'm going to share the links in the comments of this show so that you can look at them for yourself and verify, those of you who can speak Spanish, whether or not my translation is correct. I think that you'll find it very correct. Here is what the video looks like. I will play a little clip of it so you can get the feeling of how this conversation went down on the second floor of the warehouse. I believe it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
Federal police are inside the warehouse asking to see everyone's IDs. Federal police are inside the warehouse on the second story, going around to anyone that looks foreign and asking to see their IDs and their paperwork, saying that they're federal police. They're taking people's photos, and they're also recording. Please share this out. This is inside the Warehouse Refugee Center in Tijuana, Mexico. Federal police have entered in. They've gone to anyone that looks foreign, and they're asking them questions. They want to see their IDs.
¿Hablas español?
No.
Nothing? Do you speak Spanish?
English. They're taking pictures of myself and my press badge right now.
Are you activist?
I'm with the press.
Independiente.
Independent media.
Okay. New? News?
News. It's a magazine.
Okay. Where you from?
United States.
Where you come from?
U.S.
Country? State? State?
South Dakota.
Okay. Okay. ¿Usted habla inglés? Okay. Come here, please. Thank you. Thank you, please. Okay. We are
Gracias.
chief. We are. I am chief of Federal Police in Mexico.
Okay.
Okay. And excuse me, in Baja California. Okay.
Okay.
Están obligados a identificarse.
You are
obliged to identify yourselves.
Okay. Hasta ahorita, no se les.
Did you know that Rob Wilson was from South Dakota, dude?
No, I didn't know that.
So, is anybody able to verify that? I wonder if he lied. Seems like he was kind of, a little caught off guard by, he's like, now they're taking pictures of my ID and they're doing this. Like, okay. There's a requirement under the law for press people and also for activists or legal observers, especially if they're from outside of the country, to identify themselves, not only at the border when you cross, and tell people what you're really there to do. A lot of these activists, as I have showed you, as I have proven to you from their own posts, say that the Border Patrol has been watching for these folks, so they've been hiding the fact that they're going over the border to take supplies or donations to people in the caravan. And they have lied about why they're going into Mexico in the first place, so that many of them are overstaying what would regularly be known as like a day pass or a week pass in some cases. And they're not being completely honest about their reasons for being there, as in saying, I'm an activist with Greenpeace, or I'm a, PR person for Bernie Sanders, or, they're not telling people what organizations and groups they're with, what financial interests are backing them, what their purpose of doing what they're doing is. And that is a no-no. Plus, most of them are just out and out not identifying themselves when confronted by police. So let me tell you some of the things that took place in this 52-minute conversation with the Commissioner of the Federal Police of Baja California, Juan Carlos Moran Quintero. He told these activists that they're supposed to identify themselves by law. You can't refuse to show police your ID and tell them what your name is. You have to tell them. So the rules were basically, they were told that they've been here for a long time and they never identified themselves if they're in their capacities there as activists or legal observers or what have you. The only one that was actually properly ID'd was Rob Wilson. You notice he walked up to him, grabbed his ID, looked at it and said, is this your name? And questioned him and took pictures. Because that's what the purpose of those IDs is, to identify you immediately as a member of the press, to the police, to everybody else that's there, to identify your purpose for being there immediately, right? And that in this case, the chief said that none of these people had identified themselves to him, and that in fact, 3 days ago, 8 activists had come into the shelter and had been questioned by the police chief, and the activists told him, that they refused to identify themselves. They refused to show him any kind of identification or say what group or anything that they were affiliated with. And when he pressed them, they said, "Talk to my lawyer."
Yeah.
And so they've been, according to the chief's own recitation of facts, very rude with him. And that he has been nothing but, very polite and made only what are his job, legal requests which are required of him to make because of his job to enforce the law. He said that as this shelter was condemned by federal authorities, by the federal health department, okay? So the federal police have jurisdiction over ensuring that no people go inside this condemned building. And he is obligated to follow the law that is sent down to him with his officers, and that those activists and or legal observers or journalists, whoever, that are inside the warehouse or in this jurisdiction where he is the main authority must identify themselves to him, should have already have identified themselves to him, but did not, except for Rob. And that was wrong. And that the only reason that he hadn't asked them for their IDs in the past was because he was trying to wait out the situation, hoping that people's better senses would prevail and that they would eventually see, through being convinced and talked to and reasoned with as human beings, that they needed to go somewhere else where their health wasn't in danger. And so they were just kind of biding their time. But he made it very clear that he, and only he, and the federal police have complete authority to decide who can be inside of that warehouse and who cannot be inside of that warehouse. He said, furthermore, anybody that's in here is free to do whatever they want outside of the warehouse, and they're free to leave at any moment. You can leave, you can go get food, you can go someplace else, but you can't come back in because this building is now condemned. So if you leave, I'm the only person that, if I decide to let you back in, will let you come back in here, but nobody else. He also said that anybody that was within the building or without, in the vicinity of where he was or where his federal police were, that interfered with him enforcing the law or committed any civil or criminal violation would be removed immediately and charged. He talked about the temporary restraining order, which was only for 27 people. So it only applies to specific 27 people and only those 27 people. No others were listed in the request to the judge that there needed to be water, food, and bathrooms afforded to within or without that warehouse. It was very narrow in scope, only applying to those 27 individuals. And he said that under that TRO, they can all go and get food and water and use the bathrooms as they see fit. They do not have the right to request entry back into a condemned building, period. However, he said that the feeling he had about the activists present was that they had an image of Mexican police being these violent oppressors that showed up anywhere that there was a situation like this and just beat people down and threw tear gas at them. And indeed, when you listen to some of these people, like the rye bread person I was telling you about earlier, how many times did she said tear gas or pepper spray in her video, like.
Oh, about about every 5 minutes she's saying, we're getting prepared to be tear gassed. Pepper spray. It's coming any time. And then you look and you see the officers just leaning on their shields. No one has any equipment. No one has any gas masks. There's no tear gas launchers or anything like that anywhere. But she keeps on saying that outside. We're prepared. We have the stuff for our eyes right here. We're prepared in case we get tear gassed or pepper sprayed. And then she turns the camera and everybody's like sitting on the ground, smoking cigarettes, talking, and it's like no one's in any stress. But she keeps on saying that throughout that video.
And it feels like they're just chomping at the bit for something to escalate the scene into chaos and violence. But it's an over-exaggeration, again, of what's really happening. And it's unfortunate because it's putting people at risk. By their own documentation, as I am about to show you. So he goes on to tell them that whatever their misgivings about how the police, how they thought the police was going to treat them, the past 3 days of interactions with the police in the standoff have clearly showed them that they're not going to violently repress anyone, that they're not trying to malign them or harm them, that they're simply trying to enforce the law, and that they're being very patient and that they have an open dialogue, an invitation. He's given them nothing but second and third and fourth and fifth opportunities. And he said, we've shown you that we know how to negotiate and that we can do dialogue in good faith. And then the Mexican activist with this group of people who speaks really good Spanish but doesn't speak very good English, he's the same one in the other videos I'm going to show you that's translating for Rob, says, well, maybe you're jumping to conclusions about us, about our motives and what you think we're doing. And maybe instead of jumping to conclusions about what you think we're doing, you should come and ask us if we're really doing that. And then we would be able to tell you. And he's like, oh, yeah, gotcha. Understood. That's an important point. But here's another one. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you break the law and you didn't know you were breaking the law, it's not my job to come and educate you and go, hey, do you know that, for example, smoking inside of an enclosed building, especially one that's been condemned, is illegal? Because that's exactly what Rob Wilson did in this next video I'm going to show you here in a minute. But before we get to that one, he goes on saying that these activists that had been there just a week prior, and he used this point to illustrate what he has seen from these activists slash media people slash human rights observers, what have you, that they call themselves, which they mostly don't have any background in doing. They all went to Burning Man together. Maybe those are some of the qualifications that they can give you. They went to this camp together in Flint, Michigan, or at Standing Rock, and they're, they have these beliefs about the, appropriation of indigenous cultures. They think it's okay to, they're very proud of their, body positive, sex positive kind of, intersectional group of women and men that they have. But at the same time, they have tended to exploit and or put at risk vulnerable people of color, women of color, and queer and transgender people amongst their body positive, sex positive, orgy positive, drug positive culture. Some people have even ended up raped. Some people have even ended up dead. So it's concerning to me because it was these same people like, Jordan Sheridan and his co-rapists Ty Bayless and Chelsea Lyons Kent that used their ideas of sex positivity and freedom to excuse their taking an intoxicated woman and having non-consensual sex with her. It is the very things that some of the folks are complaining about in Mexico, in that very neighborhood, such as the use of drugs, the loud partying late into the night, the health violations in terms of people urinating and excreting in the street, inside of the building, using recreational drugs inside of the building, being drunk, etc., 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 that many of these folks have come to rail against and feel entitled to do in another country without any kind of repercussion or anyone putting a halt to it. And I think that is it's coming off now, and now more so in the media and even with the patience of the police as very intentional, as very rude. These folks at one point were trying to play la mosquita muerta, as we say in Mexico, which is like, to play like you're a little dead fly. Have you ever seen a fly play dead?
Yes, I have, yeah.
They seem like they're innocuous. They're not going to do anything. They're gone. But when you least expect it, they fly off.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to seem innocuous, especially in front of an authority, so that they don't see what you're really doing. But this police chief is on to you, which is why he used these examples in his responses to these activists to let them know, to put them on notice, essentially, that I have your number. I see what you're doing. This is what others of you just did to me recently. Let me give you an example of some of what I've seen you do. And he says that these 8 activists that came in that were so rude to him, that refused to show him ID, they ran inside of the building, they went up to the 2nd floor, and then they went and hid so that the authorities couldn't find them. And since they were afraid that the police would raid the shelter and force everyone out that night, and specifically would come after them because they had forced their way in without showing any identification, the police said that they put people in various groups and advised them that if the police came in and raided, they should form protection around the foreigners. They should form protection against the Americans, the manipulators, the instigators, the infiltrators, the coordinators, whatever you want to call them, the organizers, to protect them, to put their bodies on the line, to put themselves in between the police. And these are the same people. These are the very same people that have been saying, GoFundMe, PayPal me, so I can go and put my white body on the line. I saw the the red jacketed girl in that press conference that you saw arguing with the police, saying that those migrants invited them there. You just saw it in the statement that was put out by Noah Miller on behalf of the Migrant Caravan and Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network. They're there at the behest and for the protection of the migrant caravan. The migrant caravan doesn't do anything, they say. The migrant caravan doesn't do anything for them. The migrant caravan is served by them, not the other way around. And here is this federal police chief telling you that these people came in, they violated the rules, they violated the law. They had to ID themselves to the chief of police, and they did not. He could have arrested them and thrown them out there and there. then and there, but he didn't. Then, to add insult to injury, because they thought he was going to raid the warehouse that night, they went upstairs and started to prepare people to protect them, to protect the foreigners, to protect them from the police being able to come in and arrest them, to put their undocumented bodies on the line and commit a crime in Mexico, which could very well get them deported immediately, if not put in jail for a while, so that they could continue on holding this building hostage. Holding this position, a position that is very good for them to go commit an act of terrorism at the border and shut down all commerce and travel at one particular entry, like they've already done, like they've shown the capacity to do, or to go and try to take a group of 150 people or so and jump the border wall all at once, injuring people in the process if necessary. Who cares? And the facts are, they are putting people into danger. And he says to them, this is what your comrades are advising the migrant caravan to do for you. Meanwhile, I saw a video where some of the folks that got left out of the shelter were yelling at the cops there, saying to them that they needed to go back in there because those people from the caravan wanted their white bodies there. They were coming to bring their white bodies to put them in peril's way, to put a wall between those cops and them, to make sure that they protected them with their whiteness. Oh. What a load of hooey. Mm-hmm. And here it was documented by none other than Rob Wilson. And then the activists are like, are they still here? And he says, no, they left the day after they pulled that stunt. They left the building, but they stayed up until Saturday. And he said that he feels that what the activists interested in the well-being of the caravan should be doing is finding a place for them to go that isn't a health hazard. Yeah. And that there are options already available to them, like El Barretal and the others that I read to you from the article, including some people who are going to have rooms paid for them for a week by Senator Bonilla, so that they can get their next paycheck and pay their own way, the ones that just got jobs. And if none of those are a viable solution for these people, that they should go and help find a place for them, unless they really have some other hidden agenda as to why they would want to keep this group of people in a health hazard that is also deterring his ability to enforce the law. And the activist said in response, the migrants told us to stay, and we're going to do what the migrants tell us to do. And the chief of police said to them that he'd spoken to a lot of the migrants from the time that he had come in before, at every time that they're called in to make an inspection of the place, or that they go and tour the place to see what's going on and find out what people's needs are. He's asked migrants at different points, not only when they were at this shelter, but in the past, what did they want to do? Were they planning on going to El Barretal? And that many of them had signaled their intent to go, and then later changed their minds. And when he would question them about why they had changed their minds, they said that they told him that they had been pressured into changing their answers and staying at that location on Cinco de Mayo Street, and that they were afraid to tell the police chief who had pressured them into doing that. And he tells these people. So he says, I'm not saying it's you, specifically you. I'm not saying that it might not even be someone amongst their own group of Central Americans. I don't know. but it is happening. I have verified this from various sources that it is happening. And then the activists are like, well, is there any way we can negotiate on some things? And he's like, sure, we can negotiate about a lot of things. The only thing that we cannot negotiate about is this building being condemned. That's already happened. It is a fait accompli, you know? And the activists are like, well, what if we were to fix some of the things that are making this place unhealthy? And the chief of police says, let me explain something to you. First of all, I can't unring the bell. I can't uncondemn this place. It's not under my authority to say, voila, the building is now not condemned anymore, because it was condemned by a different federal authority, the Department of Health, which he's not part of. And he had nothing to do with. All he simply does is go there and enforce that nobody enter the condemned building or try to stay in a building that is condemned. And he said, second of all, the ongoing infraction, one of the main ongoing infractions of the people that were at this shelter was pooping and peeing in buckets, in bottles, inside of the warehouse, even when there have been porta potties available. He said, I don't know why they do it. Maybe it's because they don't want to walk that far. They feel lazy. They get up in the middle of the night or whatever, and they don't want to go outside to the porta potties. Maybe it's because it's too cold and they don't want to go out into the cold. They'd rather just do their business in their tent and deal with it later. I can't tell you why on every visit that we have had, we have found these same culture of defecating and urinating inside. But there it is. And that's just one of the conditions that caused for this place to be condemned. So there isn't anything that I can do to undo the crimes that have the violations that have already been committed on multiple occasions that led to this eventual condemnation. So then they said, well, what about this temporary restraining order that we're going to get on Monday? What do you say about waiting for the results of that? And he said, well, in order for me not to execute the current orders that I have to evacuate this place, there would have to be an order from a judge right now, not on Monday, right now, that says that I can't remove the people, I can't enforce the law. And in order for that to happen, my guess is that someone would have to clean this place up. It would have to be re-inspected. The lights would have to be turned on. It would have to have all of the capacitation necessary to, in a healthy fashion, house people in a magical amount of time in order for them to come in and re-inspect and issue an order that this place is fit for human housing. And I don't think that that's going to be happening. It's not going to be possible. So he says that their first days, the first day that they had been there, they had suspended the rights of people to use the porta potties, etc., and to get food and water and all that, because he said we suspended services to the people here because we were in the process of moving them to El Barretal. They were going to evacuate that location after it was condemned and evacuate everyone, make everybody leave. But as you've seen, they've held out, resisting going to the Barretal or anywhere else for that matter, and refused to leave. So during that first day, while they were trying to get people to pack up and transport into the buses, they suspended those services so that they didn't have this ongoing thing where people were trying to stay longer. And then he said that they made an agreement. They came to an agreement that night with the people that were there that they just needed until tomorrow to figure out what they were going to do. Please don't take them out tonight. Give us until tomorrow so we can figure out what we're going to do. And what they were doing, instead of, keeping their word that the next day they would all pack up and leave, was they were doing some legal maneuver to get this temporary restraining order. He said, I don't like being lied to, because I was negotiating in good faith, thinking that, okay, they just need to get more information about where they want to go, since they, for whatever reason, don't want to go to the places we're providing for them that are readily available, that have all the services they're going to need. Instead, they want to go somewhere else. We'll give them until tomorrow. And he said, instead, what you were doing was trying to get a temporary restraining order. And the thing that really upset him the most was that they lied to get the restraining order. And this is what they lied about. They told a federal judge that the chief of police and the federal police that he was commanding were illegally jailing people inside the warehouse, not letting them leave the building, and denying them access to bathrooms, food, and water, which was not the case. And that they were not allowed to communicate with the outside world. I mean, that sounds like a kidnapping and illegal jailing of people, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, of course, the judge issued this temporary restraining order saying that he had to let them have food and water and use the potties, and he indeed had never stopped them. He had never tried to stop them. What he did realize, as he explains in this video, is that some of these agitators in these groups were pressuring people that had already decided to leave not to leave, and he felt that it was prudent for him to not let them back in. He doesn't have a responsibility, they don't have the right to come back in, and he has a responsibility to ensure everyone leaves. So he decided he was not going to let those people back in. And they presented this information to a judge as if they were being stopped from going to a bathroom, stopped from accessing food or water. Because in their mind, as they said in this video, if they're not allowed to go to use the porta potties and come back in, go out, get donations and bring them back in, and go out and get water and bring that in, that is tantamount to not letting them have access to those things, because they want to continue to hold this position. And so therefore, that's how they're going to present this information to the public. He was very upset about that, and he said that if he was being impugned with criminal accusations that could get him into legal trouble, while these activists were just basically lying to him in order to get more restraining orders to stop him enforcing the law, that he then felt like they were not negotiating in good faith with him. And then the activists said that they were told that, if they did go outside and use the bathroom, that they couldn't come back in. So he told them, you're free to go outside for food, water, or bathrooms, but this place is condemned. And as the authority, I have to decide who comes and who goes. So if you leave the condemned building, you can't re-enter it. And he told them there was 2 seals outside that notified them that the 2 federal decisions had been made and to condemn the building. And they asked if they could look at the paperwork that said that the building was condemned. And he said, the lawyers that got this temporary restraining order that you guys are working with have all of that and used it to get that restraining order that said that I was restricting people from food, water, and bathrooms. And then he said that all these people had been getting health code violation notifications all throughout this process, and that they were asked to correct the issues, and each time the police and the inspectors came back, they hadn't. So they missed opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to avoid the condemnation that they are now lamenting, but they did nothing. And the activist asked whether or not all of this information that he claims that they were given and told about was given to all of the migrants. Did they understand the conditions and what makes this place uninhabitable and what the laws are and all of this stuff? As if once again, it's the police chief's job to make sure that people understand the law so that they don't violate it. But he reminded them that this place, in addition to the poop and pee problems, also had no illumination, no ventilation, and that there was food preparation issues. They balked at that. They were like, that food is sanitary. And it's like, you can't say that it is, though. Like, it's not inspected by the Department of Health and, checked to make sure that it is conditions that meet the legal requirements for food service. And he pointed out that over at El Barretal, they were allowing people to take advantage of those donations that people brought them, but only outside of the building. People needed to leave the building, and if they ate something on the outside of the building someone gave them, that was their business. But it did come back to haunt them, because 10 people who had eaten food outside of the building, brought by somebody that was just being, a generous donor, made them sick. They determined all 10 of the people that got sick had eaten the same food.
Wow.
And it was outside of the Barretal food. And the activists once again made their bid in this video that, you know what? It's very important for these people to stay together. That's why they continue to fight for this, because he told them, you should be helping these folks get a place to stay. There's a whole bunch of different shelters all over the cities, and you could find a place for these folks to stay. And they're like, no, they have to stay together. They have to stay together. And he's like, really? Because here's the thing. If they wanted to stay together so badly, when they found a building big enough to hold all of them, why didn't they all go to it? Why did some of them refuse to leave this location? And why when we negotiated a place for you to stay in this warehouse, why didn't all of the people that were on the street come into the warehouse? Why did some of them refuse to leave the street? If it's so important as you claim to these migrants for them to stay together, why have they so consistently shown me over and over again that it's not? He said the two main reasons I had for wanting to keep them together are obvious. One, because we can channel all of our resources to one place, and we don't have to, have split resources in 2 or 3 different locations. And also the fact that if they're further away from the border, he doesn't have to worry about infiltrators and anarchist groups that are manipulating these caravan goers to take them to the border and try to shut down the border or cause some kind of violent clash with Border Patrol and the federal police. So for him, it was really important to have them all in one spot, but they seem to want to refuse to hold, that spot as the spot where they all go, and instead want to find a location closer to this warehouse where they've been, this park where they were, this ball field. The chief then spoke about how the actions of the migrant caravan and the way in which these leaders had been pointing them in these directions to do these things, like, these marches to the wall, the trying to get over the wall, staying in the street, all of these things had not only divided the resources, but really overwhelmed the police forces, such that there were increased crime in highway deaths, in violent crimes, murder, etc., as well as in robberies. And he told them that there are very real world consequences to their shenanigans in terms of the lives and deaths of people in Tijuana, that the entirety of the city of Tijuana is less safe because he doesn't have enough patrol cars, because he's got to go out there and play this hide and seek game with people that are in a condemned building that should know better than to try to continue to hold this position when people are literally sick inside of this building. And I will let you watch the rest of it for yourself. But then he talked to, because many of these people, in fact, one of the Spanish speakers came over and said, could I just ask you not to call us activists? Because we're legal observers. And he's like, oh, you know what? You can call yourself whatever you want. Call yourself a legal observer. But let me just tell you something. If you were a proper legal observer and you were following your code of ethics and you knew the rules and the laws that you're supposed to follow, you would have identified yourself as such. You'd be following those rules. You would be helping the police. You would have come and talked with us and worked with us. And you would be telling the people here that they have to follow the law, not inciting them to break it. And in this video, Rob Wilson films another important coordinator of the National Commission on Human Rights in Tijuana, Efren Medardo González Pola, who very kindly goes over with the police chief to explain to them what the roles and responsibilities and rules of ethics and the law of the country that these folks are supposed to follow if they're in the role of a human rights watch, like legal observer, which he is. Efren Medardo González Pola is such a legal observer for the United Nations as well as in Tijuana. And he's there to observe the work of the police and anyone else that could put the human rights and the safety of this caravan in danger. Take a look at a little tiny clip of this.
Prácticamente conversamos sobre el tema, están en conocimiento, pero él como observador de derechos humanos le expliqué que se identificaron como observadores.
Y para nosotros es muy importante hacerlo de cualquier persona. Entonces, si el sector salud me dice, hay riesgo de que se enferme,
Human Rights México.
Okay.
Sí necesitamos que empiecen en ese sentido, estamos a un respeto, a un principio que se habían niños, habían...
So, again, this documentation by Rob Wilson of what the authorities had to say to these folks are priceless. I'm so glad that he documented how they're violating the law, how they're violating the ethics of human rights watchers, how they're stopping people that are in a dangerous situation from leaving that dangerous situation for their own gain, for their own nefarious purposes, without regard for the lives and safety of the people in this caravan. In fact, using them and exploiting them to have these vulnerable people without legal status in Mexico to put themselves in harm's way, to break laws, to protect them so they can continue to hold a position, using the migrant caravan as excuses and shields to continue to take actions at the border. All of which have this underpinning of political interests and NGOs and organizations and the fame and fortune of these many posers, which we've been talking about for years now.
Yep.
Here's a video. Well, this is the post about the video in which, by the way, Rob Wilson and crew angrily reported and has been repeated in their different platforms that human rights worker told them that they should be going around telling the people that they have to go. That's not what he said. He said that any human rights observer has to put the health and well-being of the people that they are observing first. So if you were inside of a burning building, you would advise the people there to leave, right? Just like if you're inside of a condemned building where there is tuberculosis, chickenpox, raw sewage, and other contaminants, and sick children and sick people, that you would also advise them not only for their health and safety to follow the law, but also for their, ability to stay above the law, to make sure that they're not breaking the law in the country that they're in. And they posted about it and talked about it as if he had come to threaten them or admonish them that unless they went around telling people, like he obviously apparently was supposed to be doing, that they had to get out of there, that then they would not be considered to be doing legal observing, and that this might mean that they might get kicked out, or who knows. Anyway, then Rob Wilson posts this post saying, what is it, Duke?
Police surround a mother and her kids and give her the option to leave or be taken out of the space by force. Doctors Without Borders confirmed that her child needs medical care. She agreed to leave the space and go to another location.
This child has been known about. They've known she's been sick for 3 days. They've been checking on her, and apparently the authorities were notified because they were looking into whether or not they would take this child that had had a 39-degree Celsius fever for 3 days in a row. That's in the recording that was captured by Rob Wilson, the health workers that are there, the medical officials that are there, are begging in the background. You can listen for yourself. He documented the whole thing as he posts about how these threatening people are going to take away this woman's children. This child has had a fever for 3 days consecutively, and the mother refused to get medical care for this child. There was talk, and you will hear them document in this video I'm about to play for you, that there was talk of taking the child away from the mother. Why? Mayhaps because she wasn't giving her care. Mayhaps because there is medical care available, but she wanted to hold that child and herself inside of this condemned warehouse for what purposes? It's very hard to understand at this point. And again, I wanted to show you the post to show you how this propaganda is being disseminated. But as you will hear, even from one of the translators that he talks to, this woman really needed to get to her baby to a hospital right away. She was told by the workers in the background, I could hear that they were telling her that she had what looked like early onset pneumonia, that her child's lungs were filling up with liquid. She could die from what she was preventing her child from getting medical care for. And sadly, I don't know if they got this woman to go to a hospital because she wouldn't agree to go anywhere except for Enclave Caracol, that vegan restaurant that all of these activists, including the one that was with Kurimoto, were all at. That's where this baby and the sick baby and mom are, and her, other kids or whatever are going to. Here's a clip of that video.
Do you know more about that woman's situation with her kids? Or why the doctor was called in?
Apparently, so there was Doctors Without Borders outside, and they told her that she might have some fluid in her lungs, like the onset of pneumonia, and that she should go to a hospital, and that they didn't want to treat her here because they didn't want to be like, from what I understand, they didn't want to be liable. So the cops came in with the medic to try to convince the whole family to leave, which means that they won't be able to come back, which means they will be separated from the group and probably have a harder time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Él va a venir con nosotros. Él va a venir con nosotros para revisar con nosotros. Okay. Acabo de hablar con
So right now there's a large group of federal police officers that are surrounding this woman and her children and in strong terms trying to talk her into leaving this space to seek medical care elsewhere. She does not want to because she does not want to be separated from the group. Because if she leaves, they will not be allowed back in. Everything okay?
Pues una niña tiene, a girl had 39 degrees, so temperature, and she has been there like that like 3 days. So the cops wanted to take her away as fast as possible, but to a shelter. It is not nice at all. So the doctor found a shelter with Caracol. So she's going to be really, really safe there. And it was going to be a really huge mess. They wanted to bring force to take her away and to take the kid away from them. So the guy asked me, please talk to them. And then when they told me it was Caracol, the option to go, I told her how is the place and that she's free there and that everybody's going to support her and that she has all the benefits she can have there, even like legal support.
Okay.
So the family is going to stay in Enclave Caracol till they want.
Okay.
And the agreement was that they need to take out everything, but I think it's okay by now, and when this is arranged, then it can change.
Good.
But
So I think
right
the
now-
cops are telling us we have to leave upstairs.
That's what I was gonna say. Are they upstairs
Again?
now?
No, I mean they told them. I went up. The cop came, said you have to leave, and I said I'm not going to leave until we talk to other people.
no, to leave upstairs, to go down.
Come down.
Yeah,
But like
again?
all our stuff to come down. Not, like upstairs, no more.
Yeah, that's what they
Again.
wanted at the beginning, and then I told the cops it was not nice,
Okay.
that it wasn't like...
I heard that, but they're now saying that we have to go down.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe we should talk about that, or I put all your shit together.
Okay.
So that
Well,
you can move it.
I don't care if we have to be there.
Okay, so there's like a space that agreed to allow the woman and her children to stay there. That's a pretty safe space, and she agreed to go there, as opposed to the shelter that they wanted her to go to. Right now, feds are upstairs telling people that they can no longer remain on the second floor, which I kind of figured was coming. So I'll head back upstairs and see what's going on with that, because it looks like the police have cleared out from the downstairs. I don't see any police up here just yet, but it sounds like people are preparing to go down. They may comply with that demand. I don't know yet for sure. But I'll sign off for now. If anything else develops, I'll try to film or go live. So please do keep sharing. Thanks for watching, and keep on the lookout for more updates.
So, here we go.
Yeah.
And you know, I just remember how fragile little children are. When Nemo was a little kid, he had a fever that was, it went from like 102, which is close to the 39 degrees Celsius, to 105 in like that. And your child can literally die.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very concerning thing to know that you've got a child with that kind of a high fever for 3 days.
Exactly.
And that the mother is being offered medical attention if she goes somewhere else, to take her child to a doctor or a hospital, and that she doesn't go. That a mom, and you know how cheap medical care is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very.
There's
much.
like medical tourism across the from the United States into Tijuana.
Yep.
Because it's so cheap to go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
For the equivalent of a few bucks, less than it would cost for them to buy a pizza,
Yeah, exactly.
They could have paid for that mom to take her child to the doctor and get that child on antibiotics or whatever.
Yeah.
They could have even probably rented or bought cheaply a breathing machine if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that. It's so, when they keep saying that they don't want to leave because they have women and children there. That women and children consists of people like that that have had their kid there for 3 days sick with 102-point change fever and refused to go to the doctor or leave. It starts to look more and more iffy as to why someone would do that to their own child.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I got sent home after I took my child to the emergency room, and I did not believe that the diagnosis was right, and I refused. I brought my child back and said, nope, do it again. Call the doctor, call somebody else. I don't care what you do. And it turned out I was right. So I don't understand how you can know and have someone coming in from Doctors Without Borders to visit you on a number of occasions and say, this is not looking good. You should probably go to a hospital, and you going, nope, I'll be fine. And she goes to Enclave Caracol. Enclave Caracol is, if Enclave Caracol has always been an option, and it seems like it has, because it's been part of this support network the entire time. And if that was an option the entire time, why wouldn't you take every single mother and child you can find in a caravan and put them in a house and put them in a hotel before adults of any kind, including LGBTQ adults, because children are more vulnerable to getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
Their immune systems aren't as strong. Why would you not? Why would you put up adult men? Why would you put up men in mortar and brick housing before children? And so, and then of course, they're not telling you that these are the kinds of risks that people are taking for this stunt, which is exactly what it is. As I've said, there are a number of different other shelters these folks can go to. And if that weren't available, I'm sure that some of these activists could put together some pizza money and buy one of these people a hotel room for the night. But they don't want them there. They need them inside that warehouse. And lastly, I want to show you another one of the videos that Rob Wilson himself documented that shows, and this is a second video of police in there having been told that folks are consuming illicit drugs, illegal drugs inside of the warehouse. They're not supposed to even smoke in there, but they're consuming drugs inside the warehouse, which, as you saw in the article, the chief of police on that article 2 days ago had already told them in the past that they had been reported for, had been seen, had been documented using drugs, and that they weren't allowed to have any more contraband in that building, and definitely not illicit drugs. And that was being violated on the day of their arrival back. And here in this video, you will see that the police went in again. I'm not going to show you the whole video. I can share the links to all of these in the comments of my show. But just so you can see, it's not just a pretext. Rob Wilson and all of these people want you to believe, oh, they just use this as an excuse to come in and raid or to search us or to do this or to do that. But we know from experience, evidence, and proof that these folks in the past that have been accused of using illicit drugs and or doing illicit things have actually been doing those illicit things. Right? You heard about how Mike Fassig's son was like stole a bag of money from a lady that was selling weed at the Standing Rock protest.
Yeah.
You heard about these things from some of the Standing Rock heroes themselves. So we know these things were going on. And yet they tried to act like these things that they're being accused of and that they're being searched for have nothing to do with them whatsoever. They're just pretexts to harass them, to threaten them. And, oh, by the way, we could sure use your support. Here's a little clip of that.
Yo empiezo a grabar. Sí, graba también. ¿Saben lo que están haciendo?
No. Nadie.
Sí, cómo no. Pon tus cosas, amigo. Vamos a hacer una inspección a todo para que no haya marihuana. Ahorita salió una persona, una mujer de aquí, nos dijo que estaban fumando marihuana. ¿Sí? Hay niños, deben de recordar que hay niños y hay mujeres embarazadas. ¿Sí? Y nosotros todavía los estamos protegiendo y cuidando. No se vale que estén fumando un tipo de... Bueno, vamos a hacer una inspección. ¿Sí? Ahí están los medios, están grabando y también mis compañeros están grabando.
All right. So there it is. See for yourself. The departure from reality is great. Maybe it's the lack of understanding of the language, the laws of Mexico, the culture, or maybe it's willful ignorance. Maybe it's just part of the modus operandi of these people and how they wage their form of war. In this standoff, there are only ways for the people of Tijuana and the people of Mexico to lose. They stand nothing to gain from this continued standoff and from these continued infiltrators in their backyard, stopping them from being able to help this migrant caravan and to deal with this crisis, this humanitarian crisis that was very much manufactured. Keep it here on 88.1 FM, KPPP-LP, where we're adding local color to your airwaves for more updates on the caravan and the news down south of the border on a Mexican crossing line. Good night.